How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Unwoke Thoughts. Tonight, we are watching the Donald Trump rally in North Charleston, South Carolina. Yes, Nikki Haley's home state. So if you look at this rally, the size of the crowd at this rally, it's absolutely massive. No, my title was not clickbait. I really meant it when I said this. This crowd is huge. It's a huge rally, huge crowd at the rally for Donald Trump, and Nikki Haley is crying those liberal tears because, guys, we all know that that's what Nikki Haley actually is. She is a rhino, or just straight up a Democrat, because Democrats vote for her, liberals vote for her. They love her, and Nikki Haley can't stop attacking Trump. But, guys, we're going to be listening in to this RSBN broadcast here. And I believe the rally starts, from what I heard, the rally starts at 6 o'clock my time, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. They're starting kind of their programming 5:30, and that's when I was going to start. I started a few minutes early because one of my followers here, Jamie Brummer, he said, Unwoke Thoughts, call an audible and start early. LMFAO. Yes, I started early. And, man, he comments on almost every one of my videos. I just want to thank him. He said, share it up. Major respect from Central Illinois. God bless you and all my fellow God-fearing patriots. Yes, Jeremy, we appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for following me and watching my videos and commenting and liking on my videos. It's really means a lot for a small channel like myself. But, guys, we're going to be listening in to this broadcast here in North Charleston, South Carolina, and we're going to be listening to, what's his name, Glenn? What is his name? Hold on, I had him pulled up here. Brian Glenn, yes, of RSBN. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, believe it or not. Not this guy right here, not the guy walking up the podium, but the guy with the crazy hair. But, guys, without any further ado, let me increase the volume here. And I will stop talking and let you guys listen.
Is there anybody here in South Carolina ready to re-elect the greatest president in our lifetime, Donald J. Trump? I can't hear nobody. South Carolina, I can't hear nobody. And listen, I don't know about you, but we got to get rid of Joe Biden, and we got to get rid of him right now. Now, somebody shout now. Shout now. And I don't know about you, but is there anybody happy? Because we're about to pray. We're going to pray because we're going to re-elect Donald J. Trump, who believes in the name of Jesus Christ.
Man, whoever picked this hype man did an excellent job. This guy is straight up hyping up the crowd here. I love it.
Because we need a man. You know, Donald J. Trump is one of the greatest things that has happened to Christians here in America when he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Is there anybody happy about that? Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout yeah. And I don't know about you, but I'm so happy that Donald Trump believes that no grown man dressed up like a woman should ever compete in women's sports here in America.
With that. Okay. I'm speaking my language now. Let's go.
I can't hear nobody. Are there any real ladies in the building today who believe that no grown man should ever go inside of a woman's bathroom here in America? Shout never! Shout never! This is why we got to do whatever it takes, South Carolina. And why in the world is Nikki Haley even still in the race?
That's what we're all wondering.
We're about to send a loud cry that no matter, even if she was the governor of the state, is there anybody from South Carolina know that South Carolina is Donald J. Trump country? Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Donald!
Now listen to that crowd. That's incredible.
Because we're fighting a demonic force. We're fighting the real enemy that comes from the gates of hell, led by one of his leaders called Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We plead the blood of Jesus even right now over the life of Donald J. Trump. And we declare it right now that we're declaring that any transgender policies be removed from our public school systems in America, led by Donald J. Trump. And I believe that even now, power is going back to the hands of the parents. And we need a leader who is fearless, anointed by God. Donald Trump is anointed by God. Does anybody here believe that Donald Trump is anointed by God to lead this nation and to take this country back? In the name of our Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. If you believe with me, say yeah, amen, amen, amen. God bless you, South Carolina. Help me re-elect the greatest president, Donald J.
Excellent job by this guy. Wow. Complete and total hype, man. You did a great job hyping up the crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Citadel Cadet Savannah Eichner to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone stand and please remove your covers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I love how
Ladies and
the
gentlemen,
Trump
please
rallies are
welcome to the
complete and whole
stage
show.
country singer
It's just
Ryan
fantastic how
Trotty
they
to sing our
structure these
national
rallies.
anthem.
They're better than any other rallies out there. They really are. And then I hope they do it in this one where Donald Trump flies
Charlson,
over.
how we
with the
doing
plane.
tonight? Everybody doing good? All right. Thank you guys for being here. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let's go. Fantastic.
God bless America. Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage State Representative Stuart Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is great to be here with you today. It's an incredible honor. I'm State Representative Stuart Jones, and before I served in the State House, I actually served on County Council. In fact, I was serving on County Council almost 10 years ago when we had to tell Nikki Haley by resolution to stop supporting Obama's refugee resettlement program. We remember that. The facts are, Nikki Haley has always been weak on the border. The open border policies of the Biden administration and the enabling of the left that Haley has encouraged has perpetuated and allowed the invasion that we are seeing today. It's got to stop.
Amen.
How many more American lives are going to be destroyed and cut short because of the actions of the Biden administration? Why I am fighting for this publicly by running for Congress, this is a very personal issue to me. Our lives were forever changed last year when my 3-year-old goddaughter, Maddie, died due to the reckless driving of an illegal alien. This illegal almost hit multiple vehicles before T-boning the vehicle that Maddie and her family were traveling in. Maddie went to be with the Lord that day, while the rest of her family were airlifted to the hospital. We buried Maddie on her 4th birthday. And she was a beautiful child who loved God. She loved music. She loved her family. Maddie loved people. And Maddie's life mattered. Every American life matters. You know, and despite being deported under President Trump, this illegal who did this was allowed to re-enter our country under the Biden administration. We're sending Joe back to the basement. We cannot and will not stand idly by in these dark days while Biden and the Democrats refuse to close our southern border. Biden has destroyed our economy. He's destroyed our peace through his weakness, and he has destroyed our border. He is incompetent, incoherent, and incapable of leading. So I ask today, how many more innocent American lives are going to be destroyed by his open border policy? The economy, peace, and border security were all great things that President Donald J. Trump worked tirelessly to achieve. This is why it's critical that we elect President Trump once again to lead our country. He's the greatest president of my lifetime. And I'll tell you, our country cannot survive another 4 years of Joe Biden or Nikki Haley. Because I'll tell you, they're more concerned with borders in other countries than they are the border right here in the United States of America. Now, folks, in June of 1776, the biggest naval force in the history of the world laid siege to Charleston. But patriots of South Carolina stood strong and defended our great land. These words, this events would travel back to Thomas Jefferson and helped to inspire the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Let us, the South Carolina Patriots, once again inspire this nation to boldly put America first, defend our borders, and put Donald J. Trump back in the White House. May God bless this state, our country, and may God bless President Trump. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage AGY Corporation CEO, Rilla.
Good evening and happy Valentine's Day. I'm the first one to say it. My name is Rilla. I'm the president of AGY Corporation in Aiken, South Carolina. I'm not a politician, but actually this is my 5th Trump rally. I've been to them in 5 states. Is there anything better than a Trump rally, right? So I'm here to share the AGY story with you. It's a story of technology and persistence, but it's really a story of global competition and survival as we compete against the Chinese Communist Party sponsored competitors. And so by background, AGY has been around since 1963. We've been one of the largest employers in the state. We make glass fiber that goes in aircraft, cell phones, and every portion of the US military. So we are critical to the national defense. The reason I am here today is to speak on behalf of President Trump because as we look at the horizon and the upcoming primaries, President Trump and Nikki Haley present a very, very stark contrast. President Trump has the back of America and the back of American workers. And I will tell you that Nikki Haley came to our plant, talked to our people, and then walked away and turned away from those people. And so from 2014 to today, if you think about the AGY story, I can tell you why you must vote for President Trump in this primary. In 2014, Nikki Haley came to our business, told our employees that South Carolina supported us. She told them that we were rock stars. In 2016, she went on record as saying she celebrates AGY, but all the while in the background, she was working a side deal with the Chinese Communist Party competitor. All the while, she was giving us credit and plaudits. She provided them financial incentives, 200 acres of free land, everything but the kitchen sink, and you know where it went. The Chinese Communist Party took the deal. They built a business in Richland County, and what did it get you, right? So what did it get you? The business that they built over the past few years has come nowhere near the tax incentives and job creations that she indicated. But more importantly, in 2023, they were hit by the largest environmental fine in South Carolina history after they were given those tremendous deals. So Nikki Haley turned her back on everyone. She prioritized the deal with China. She walked away from America. She walked away from South Carolina. She walked away from all of our workers. And so my closing point to you is, do you want a president that acts that way?
I don't want a president that acts that way. Do you guys want a president that acts that way?
China and how the China threat can hit us as companies and as consumers. We need a president who's thinking about our children and grandchildren, who puts America first. And I tell everybody, it's 5 years ago, but remember what it was like in 2019. If you sat in a couch in 2019, you said, America can't be stopped. There's nothing better. There's nothing but greatness ahead of us. We need to get back to that confidence. We need to get that swagger about everybody in this room and everybody in this country. We need a president who fights for you, fights for me, 24/7, 365, every day for the American worker. That is what we need, someone who makes commitments and backs up their commitments. And so with that, I hope that you will join me in putting Donald J. Trump back in the White House in 2025.
Let's go. That was great. Okay, guys, I'm going to interrupt this really quick. We got some breaking news here. Look at this. This is a tweet. Apparently, this is a poll that was done 2024 South Carolina GOP primary. Trump with 65% and Haley with 29%. Rock Hill, South Carolina with just 10 days until the 2024 South Carolina Republican presidential primary. 65% of likely voters in the state support the nomination of former President Donald Trump with a 36% lead over his opponent, former South Carolina Governor and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Wow. Imagine that. Okay, guys, looks like we have Kristi Noem up here. No, Mace. Mace, that's who it is. Sorry, guys.
Well, you're one of my political foes. I want to remind you that Mace is also a medieval weapon. A weapon that I use on the Oversight Committee to go after the Biden crime family day in and day out in Congress. Some of you know that I dropped out of high school at the age of 17, and my father, a retired general, my mother, a retired school teacher, told me when I dropped out of school, if you're going to stop going to school, you got to start going to work. And I got a job at the Waffle House on College Park Road. Who's been to Waffle House? There we go. More importantly, who's been to Waffle House after midnight? My mom did not raise her hand. We're going to have to fix that, Mom. I would go on to the Citadel, to the Military College of South Carolina, become the first woman to graduate from there. And seeing what's happened to the country today, all the pronoun stuff, if I had come to the Citadel with my preferred pronouns, they would have sent me home packing instead of walking across the stage as the first woman to graduate from there. The Waffle House and the Citadel taught me two things about life. It taught me about the value of hard work, and it taught me about having courage. There's another man who's going to be in the room tonight who can teach us about the value of hard work, and that man is Donald J. Trump. There is a man who's going to be in the room with us tonight who can teach us about courage to stand up to the DC establishment. And that man is who they fear, Donald J. Trump. I'm here tonight, you are here tonight, because there is only one man who can save America, and that man is Donald J. Trump. Everyone wanted this to be a two-person race. On one side, we have Donald Trump, the picture of strength, the picture of security, the picture of patriotism. On the other side, we have Joe Biden, who fumbles and mumbles, and his own Department of Justice said he was too pathetic to prosecute. Joe Biden tells us those classified documents were secure, but that garage was just as secure as his southern border. Joe Biden's entire campaign is about you and I and accusing all of us in this room that we are a threat to democracy. But I want to ask you this, South Carolina. Is there any bigger threat to democracy than refusing to defend our soldiers abroad? No. Is there any bigger threat to this country than leaving our border wide open for terrorists who want to kill us as they walk right in? No. Is there any bigger threat to democracy than the invasion of over 8 million people coming into this country since Joe Biden was president? No. Is there any bigger threat to democracy than allowing the illegals who are here to vote in our elections? No. Is there any bigger threat to democracy than using our very own spy agencies to spy on the President of the United States of America? Is there any greater threat to democracy than having activist judges literally take the man off the ballot? No. And lastly, is there any bigger threat to democracy than literally trying to imprison your greatest political opponent? Hell no. The last thing I want to say is that this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. I want you to get out there and vote like our lives depend on it. And tonight, we're going to celebrate and nominate on the 24th of February, the man, the only man who can save our country, and that man is Donald J. Trump. Thank you, and God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage United States Senator of South Carolina, Tim Scott.
Well, this is one of the prospective VP nominees.
South Carolina!
What do you guys think about that? Do you think he's going to be the VP? There's a chance.
I am happy to be home in my hometown of North Charleston. Let me say this. How many of y'all are ready to fire Joe Biden? And if you fire Joe Biden, you fire Kamala Harris. The only thing worse than Joe Biden might be Kamala Harris. The border czar. Wow. 4 more years of Donald Trump means 4 years of low interest rates. 4 more years of Donald Trump means law and order in the streets of America. How many of y'all remember when President Trump was our president? Before President Trump, Obama had incursions in Ukraine. After President Trump, Joe Biden has incursions in a war in Ukraine, the one president that keeps world peace a reality is our president, Donald Trump. America needs a president who loves America enough to stand up and be counted every single day of every week. That president is Donald Trump. We need a president who stands for American values, not a president who sits down and can't remember exactly where he is. We need a president who not only loves our country, but loves every single American and goes to work every single day for our country. It is time for 4 more years. 4 more years. I said 4 more years. And he'll be here in just a little while. And when you see him, let's make sure on Valentine's Day we share our love for Donald J. Trump. What's up, John?
Let's go. Let's go. Tim Scott hyping up the crowd. Did a good job. I don't know if I'd want to see him as vice president, but he's not. He wouldn't be the worst pick.
Ladies and gentlemen,
opinion.
please welcome to the stage South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster.
Hey. How y'all doing? We're getting close to the man walking out here right now. I'm so happy to be in Charleston. My wife, my favorite wife, Peggy, is here. There she is. Peggy, stand up, wave your hand.
Did he just say his favorite wife, Peggy? Does he have more than
Peggy
one?
Jean Spartanburg. Happy to be in Charleston, where we know the Ashley and Cooper rivers flow together to form the Atlantic Ocean. This is the place to be. Let me tell you just a few things. Campaigning with Donald Trump is like traveling with the Spice Girls. Y'all heard of them?
Okay, I love this guy.
Everywhere we go, it sounds like I'm hearing something like, yo, I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. What I really, really want is Donald J. Trump. That's what we hear everywhere we go. But I'll tell you what the man's going to do when we get him back in. There's going to be a big change. There are 4 reasons we tell everybody. There are 4 great reasons and many more, but 4 of them are these. Number 1, he will, when he's back in office, he will protect our borders, return the illegals, and build the wall. Number 2, he will get the woke out of the military and put the fight back in the military. Number 3, he will put judges in the courts to do what? To protect the Constitution of the United States and enforce the law. And by the way, all those cases, don't worry about those cases. The same thing will happen to all of them. It's happening to the one out west who tried to take him off the ballot. The U.S. Supreme Court will throw that thing out so fast and hard it's going to bounce all the way back to Colorado, and the rest of them will too. Also, thing number 4, he's going to show our enemies abroad that America is standing back up, and it's time for them to sit back down. Ladies and gentlemen, we now enter in our 4th year of failure with the Biden administration. That's enough. Compare, in the 4 years of President Trump, we went from strength to strength. Like that great philosopher said, Tim McGraw, also known as a country western singer, we like it, we love it, we want some more of it, we want 4 more years of Donald J. Trump. So it's now for us to re-elect Donald Trump, to make America again, because there ain't no doubt about it. We love this land. God bless the USA and Donald J. Trump.
Okay.
God bless you.
McMaster's killing it. I think he's my favorite one so far. He really has that thick South Carolina accent. Reminds me of some of my family down south in Arkansas. Wow. Very, very good. Resounding speech by him. Hilarious. Very hilarious. I love that one. Let's see who's next, I wonder. And a hush falls over the crowd.
Yes, it does. It does wrap up some of the pre-speeches here on the pre-show here as we make our way to the top of the 7 o'clock hour here on the East Coast when President Trump is scheduled to speak. I will say this, coming out with a Toby Keith song right now.
And here is MTG's boyfriend, Brian Glenn.
Was a fantastic country music musician, but he was a great American.
I guess Trump,
he was a great father. He was a great.
I guess Trump is coming out at 7 their time, whatever the time is. So that'll be 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock my time, right? Correct, I believe so. I believe that's when it is. So guys, I found something kind of funny. Found something kind of funny for you guys. So Nikki Haley, she came out with an excuse for why she lost to none of these candidates in Nevada. Was it Nevada? Yeah, it was Nevada. Check this out.
Does that situation in Nevada hurt a little bit?
No, I mean, Nevada, it's such a scam. They were supposed to have a primary. Trump rigged it so that the GOP chairman, who's been indicted, would go and create a caucus. We knew months ago that we weren't going to spend a day or a dollar in Nevada because it wasn't worth it. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't even count Nevada. That wasn't anything we were looking at. We knew that was rigged from the start. Sure. Our focus is on South Carolina, Michigan, Super Tuesday. So if you look what we did in Iowa and you look what we did in New Hampshire, we're continuing to grow. That's what matters, I think, more than anything else. But look at what happened this week. Mm-hmm. Here you have Republicans lost a major vote on the border. Mm-hmm. Republicans lost a major vote on Israel. Donald Trump was found that he will not have immunity in all of these court cases coming up.
Okay. So, guys, yeah, she's blaming corruption, ironically, on why she lost to none of these candidates in Nevada. And she says she's focused on South Carolina fully. That's her focus.
Protecting our
so I'm really hoping this will be the last nail in her coffin for Nikki Haley. Is she going to give in after the embarrassing loss?
And that's not what it was
South
about
Carolina.
Post 9/11.
36 points
we all came
down.
together to really embrace what it means to an American and be so blessed to be an American and the rights that are given to us from God. And we fast forward now, and I don't know where that went, but the great Toby Keith, as we play tribute to him tonight in South Carolina. Okay, so we've got some. Let's talk about Joe Biden real quick. I'm going to get some notes on Joe Biden as we move.
And guys, I heard him talking to some of the rally attenders earlier, and every single one of the people he talked to, they said that their number one thing they want to see Trump do in office the first day is to close the border. And I am 100% with them, guys. That is a catastrophe what is happening down there. You guys watch my videos. You know I talk about that a lot. And I've been talking about this legislation. I made like 5 videos on this legislation that just got pushed through the Senate that sends almost $100 billion overseas to Ukraine, to Israel, to Taiwan, and Gaza. And that used to be a border bill. Well, they said it was a border bill. In fact, it really wasn't. It kept the border open. It made illegal immigration basically legal. But you see what your representatives and your government think of you when they are 100% focused on foreign countries and not the United States. It's pretty sad when you really think about it.
And we'll go into that in just a second. It's up well into double digits. So inflation is a tax on all Americans. And then when Joe Biden took office, inflationary rate was just 1.4%. Now you think about that for a second. When he took office, inflation was at 1.4%, almost to a point where it's not necessarily noticeable across the board, depending on what your good and service is. But since he's taken office, inflation has risen by 17.2%. So when he started, 1.4. Since he's taken office, we have an average of 17.2%. 5.2. Now, electricity is up 26.6% since he's taken office. Motor vehicle insurance is up 20.3%. Now, depending on what state you live in, obviously, I think it's much higher than that, depending on what state you're in, because I know the insurance rates are higher in certain states like California, New York, and Texas, hence the majority of the population. But this hits everyone. So imagine having a family of 4, mom, dad, 2 kids. You've got 4 cars underneath that one policy. We already know how expensive it is to insure kids. We know how expensive it is to insure anybody under 25 years old. Now you throw a 20% inflation rate on your car insurance. Now you've got a situation where there's a lot of people who simply, it's not like you can afford to drive without it. You got to have it. It's a state law, but it forces you to cut back on other things in your household.
Okay, guys,
so
I'm kind of jumping back and forth from Twitter in between
let's get down to
Ryan Glenn
fruit, no pun intended,
and Donald
Food
Trump coming on stage. I got a tweet right here. This is some Trump rally goers right here from Benny Johnson.
Nikki can't get any love in South Carolina either. Why, let me ask you, why are you
Look at all
guys
these
MAGA?
people
Why
here.
are you
They're all
Why do you support
young.
Trump so much?
They're young voters. Young kids.
and justice for all.
Amen. That's what he's not getting.
This is the demographic that Joe Biden desperately needs.
Close the borders.
And there's no way he's going to get
propaganda. We're here for the truth.
That's it.
Get Sleepy Joe out of here.
What do you think about CNN, MSNBC, all of the other so a lot of people think the country's gone, that the next generation, your generation, isn't smart, is all libtards, all brain dead. What do you tell them?
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of propaganda going on. There's only real people out here that understand the real media.
Yeah.
We understand the truth. We like people that are truthful.
So
Speak for the truth.
This is what the Democrats are terrified of, guys.
Joe's gotta go. Joe's gotta go. Joe's gotta go. Joe's gotta go. I love it.
Joe's gotta go, baby.
The youth of America is standing up to the corruption and understanding what is going on in their government. They don't want that to happen.
Countries on your shoulders. Are you guys? Do we have men and women, or is it soy boys? Is it women with balls?
No sissies. No sissies.
Real men.
Real strong men and women.
Strong men and women. That's
No
it.
sissies.
That's it. Real men, real women. That's it. That's it. 100%.
Always gotta go.
Okay, guys, let's go back to Brian Glenn over here at RSB and see what he's talking about.
Formula, and that was a big issue, and it seemed like nothing was. It was just what. So be it. Nothing was done to correct that, and if you were able to find baby formula, that was going to cost you 7.3% as well. Sugar and sugar substitutes are up 6.9%. Rent of primary residence is up 6.5%. Frozen vegetables are up 6.1%. Pet food is up 5.1%. So under Joe Biden's failed economic agenda, Americans are now spending, you ready for this, $11,400 more a year to buy things they normally bought last year. And that is just year over year. Now, if you look back the last 3 years, you can imagine that is sharply higher as well. More Americans are living paycheck after paycheck, paycheck to paycheck. That is happening at a sharp rate, and also credit card debt as well.
Uh-oh, guys. I just saw this on Twitter. Tim Scott to join Trump on stage at campaign rally amid VP pick rumors.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I looked at the numbers.
I wonder what this has to do with. Senator Tim Scott is expected to join former President Donald Trump on stage in South Carolina on Wednesday night amidst rumors that he could be chosen as Trump's running mate. That would be insane. Wow. Scott will be on stage with Trump at the former president's Get Out the Vote rally at the Charleston Area Convention Center in North Charleston. The rally comes just 10 days before the South Carolina GOP primary. In an interview with Fox News, Maria Bartiromo earlier this month, Trump name-dropped Scott as well as South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. I think there are some Kristi Noem fans in the chat right now. I saw a couple comments. when speaking about criteria he was looking for in a potential running mate. So Kristi Noem, Tim Scott, those are some potential VPs that he has in mind, maybe it looks like. Trump at the time also denied reports that his campaign reached out to independent presidential candidate RFK Jr. to explore a potential ticket with him early on in the campaign season, stating the interaction never happened. So did RFK Jr. lie? That's crazy. Yeah, because I remember hearing that. RFK Jr. said that Trump's campaign reached out to him and that he said, no, I'm sorry, I do not want to be VP, something like that. So Scott responded to Trump's consideration, told Fox News Digital on February the 6th, his top priority was ensuring the former president beats President Biden. The only thing, this is a quote from Scott, I can tell you is that the one thing we need is 4 more years of Donald Trump. We were better off under Trump. In order for us to be successful, the one thing I can't afford to do is take my eye off the ball. The eye on the ball means making sure that President Trump gets 4 more years. Scott, who suspended his campaign in November, endorsed Trump days before the New Hampshire primary. Meanwhile, Trump's lone remaining GOP rival, Birdbrain, Nimrata Haley, who's coming off another loss in Nevada primary after losing to none of these candidates. Yes, that's who she lost to, guys. She lost to none of these. Yes, and that was an actual option on the ticket. You can pick Nikki Haley. I think Pence was on there. There's a few others. I don't remember the other ones. But then you could pick none of these candidates. And I think none of these candidates got 60-something%. She got 30%. So that's very embarrassing. And then she says that she is focusing on her home state of South Carolina. And if polls are any indication, she's going to win bigly, it looks like. But she recently barnstormed across her home state of South Carolina, where she once served as governor. Haley is heading to Texas later this week for fundraising and campaigning in the Super Tuesday state. Most South Carolina Republican officials of the state are backing Trump's White House bid. Yes. So, yeah, we already saw that. We saw the governor and senator coming on stage.
That was a big issue, and it seemed like nothing was, it was just, was so be it. Nothing was done to correct that. And if you were able to find baby formula, that was going to cost you 7.3% as well. Sugar and sugar substitutes are up 6.9%. Rent
this is not even
that
live.
We did
Here
not
we
see.
go. Sorry, guys. I was like, I think I already heard him talk about sugar and sugar substitutes.
Administration. You got a shot of, I believe we got a shot of Nancy Mace taking some photos with some supporters out here. And her, this is actually her district that we're standing in right now. Also, if you want to look at interest rates and how they have affected home buying, it's been one of the leading indicators of why people have not purchased a home and why they're waiting. They're simply waiting for the feds to cut rates to make it where, well, back during the Trump administration, average mortgages were, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to go off from what I remember, around $1,600 a month with the average mortgage, with the rate being well under 6%. Now, fast forward into the Biden administration, we have mortgages well over $2,100 to $2,700 a month. Plus, those interest rates are above and beyond 8-9% interest on a home loan, depending on obviously credit score and company finance. But it costs you more to buy a home. It costs you more to rent a home. It costs you more to buy a car. I know that the pre-owned market has really been a market that has gotten hit hard with these higher interest rates due to the fact that people can't afford to really replace the cars. So now they're driving their cars longer, which does tend to drive sectors like the auto parts reseller. I mean, the O'Reilly Auto Parts, the Advanced Auto Parts, places, people like that. It's tend to be advantageous for those guys because people are spending money on parts to keep their car on the road rather than going and buying a new car. So really, the Biden economy from top to bottom has not been in favor of the American consumer at all. And I think that even when you get people that are agnostic about politics in general, They simply understand what the implications are to electing someone that does not have the best policies in place to help the American people. And we've seen that under Bidenomics. And Bidenomics is going to try to basically, Bidenomics is going to try to convince the American people that it's not that bad, that the economy, quote, is not that bad. The cost of living right now is, quote, not that bad. That's what they want you to believe. But I really feel like the American people, and I know this, they're smarter than that. They know they're spending more at the pump. They know they're spending more at the grocery store. They know they're spending it in places, and it's more on items that they never spent it before under the Trump administration. So if there is any reason, if you're watching this right now and you've never quite been on Team Trump, and you've always maybe been agnostic through the political cycle, simply look at your paycheck and say, dude, does it go as far as it did under President Trump than it does right now under President Biden? And your answer would be no, it does not. Okay, let's look at some of the talking points on why Joe Biden needs to be impeached. Now,
okay, guys, so Brian Glynn here is
too deep
trying to fill in time before
but
Trump comes on
basically,
stage. Looks like we have
Joe Biden
15
has
minutes or
repeatedly
something like
lied
that. He comes
to the
on stage
American
at 7
people
o'clock.
about his family, corrupt influence, and peddling schemes. They have been talking about this in the Oversight Committee. They've been talking about whether or not Joe Biden knew and interacted with Hunter Biden's foreign business interest. Now, he has denied ever talking to Joe Biden about his business. And, of course, that has been disproved many times through the evidence coming out. And, of course, Bob Alinsky spoke yesterday behind closed doors and talked about the relationship between Bob Alinsky, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and foreign interest group are being on phone calls and hearing meetings and sitting in on meetings allegedly. So that is something to point out, that he has lied to the American people about that. He never told them. Then Vice President, now here's some of the facts here. Then Vice President Biden dined Russia.
Hey guys, I got some breaking news from the Associated Press while Glynn is talking about that, because it's kind of boring, honestly. But apparently, special counsel asked Supreme Court to let Trump's 2020 election case proceed to trial without delay. So, see what this has to do with. Oh, it's very short. 2 paragraphs, it looks like. Special counsel Jack Smith urged the U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday to let President Trump 2020 election interference case proceed to trial without further delay. Prosecutors were responding to a Trump team request from earlier in the week asking for a continued pause in the case as the court considers whether to take up the question of whether the former president is immune from prosecution. Okay, so not much new there. Let's go back to Glynn here.
Hunter Biden and his associates received, get this, $3 million as, quote, a thank you for the work they did, the CEFC, when Joe Biden was vice president. Once again, Hunter Biden receiving compensation while Joe Biden was at that time serving as vice president. And this example gets more and more in depth as we go. He also said he never made money from China, but the bank records reveal that his family made millions from China and 40,000 in Chinese money laundered in Joe's bank account. And we have the SARS reports, we have the bank statements reports that proves that Joe Biden received compensation into these shell LLC companies that were basically opened up to funnel money into it. And that money then went down to several Biden family members. And after that happened, the LLCs will be dissolved. That's called money laundering. I want to know what business Joe Biden has. If you ask me what business President Trump has, I'll tell you. He's got resorts, he's got hotels, he's got golf courses, he's got products like wine, he's got numerous things that you can touch, buy, service, and observe. Joe Biden has nothing but his peddling foreign interests of his association in the White House. He has cashed in on his influence, and they all know it. Hunter knows it. Joe knows it. Everyone knows it. The Chinese know it. Ukraine knows it. They all know it, that Joe Biden has sold his influence. Since last year, they have obtained thousands of pages of these financial records. So this is something that Jamie Comer and many in the Oversight Committee has taken the time to go and get this research and bring it to the American people and bring it within these committees that we've shown here on Right Side and let everybody know exactly what has happened. We talk about shell companies. Joe Biden created 20 shell companies. Most were created when Joe Biden was vice president. So if people say, no, this is way before he was in office, or some would say, no, this is after he left office when he was, just basically at that point, just a citizen Joe. No, these are things that he did on the vice president watch while he was in office. He monetized and took advantage. I'll step aside, show the scene. Just some transparency back in the studio. Looks like my IFB has gone out, just to let you know. So for any kind of communication with that, I'll try to reconnect here. But it's 6:16 here in Charleston, South Carolina. So glad that you're joining us.
All right, guys. While we're waiting for that, let's see what Tucker Carlson had to say. He just released this video. He's talking about Moscow subway stations. And I know he was talking about how Moscow is nicer than any city that he knew of in the United States. So let's see what he had to say about Moscow subway stations.
One of the ways you understand a society is through its infrastructure, the places where people gather, the places where they go to travel. If you've got a lot of people in one place, it tells you a lot about the people. So with that in mind, we're standing in front of the Kievskaya metro station, and there's a train station next to it. Now, the metro station was built by Joseph Stalin 70 years ago. And the question is, how's it doing now, after 70 years? So we went into it to take a look, and what we found shocked us. Now, that's not an endorsement of Stalin, who was bad, obviously, nor is it an endorsement of the current president, Vladimir Putin. You may not like him either. But it doesn't change the reality of what we saw, or more precisely, didn't see. There's no graffiti, there's no filth, there are no foul smells. There are no bums or drug addicts or rapists or people waiting to push you onto the train tracks and kill you. No, it's perfectly clean and orderly. And how do you explain that? We're not even going to guess. That's not our job. We're only going to ask the question. And if your response is to shout at us slogans dumber than the slogans we used to call Soviet and mock, that's not really an answer. How does Russia, a country we're told is a gas station with nuclear weapons, have a subway station that normal people use to get to work and home every single day that's nicer than anything in our country? We're not going to speculate. We're just going to raise the question and wait for someone in charge to give us an answer. What is the answer? So we'll stop the lecture and let you take a look for yourself at what the Kievskaya metro station in Moscow, Russia looks like today, February 2024, in the middle of a war.
All right, guys. So that was very, very interesting there. Tucker Carlson talking about how clean Moscow is. And let's go back to the program.
Had the results of the election been different,
This was last week in Mar-a-Lago.
you wouldn't have the Ukrainian situation with Russia. You would not have had an attack on Israel, which was so horrible. You would not have had inflation. You wouldn't have China talking about Taiwan. You wouldn't have any of the problems that we have today. And you certainly had a broke Iran, and now you have a very rich Iran. Iran was broke when I left. They had no money to give to Hamas. They had no money to give to Hezbollah. And now they have 200 billion. Plus, as you probably know, people don't like to admit it, they certainly control Iraq. And Iraq has another 300 billion. So you have a very rich group of countries. And as you know, Iraq should have never happened. That was a balance against Iran, and we blew out the balance. And now Iran has essentially Iraq. And Iraq doesn't like saying that, but that's the way it is. And it's a shame. The world is in tremendous danger. We're in danger of possibly a World War III. And we have a man who's absolutely the worst president in the history of our country. Can't put two sentences together. He's not going to be able to negotiate with Putin or Xi or Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Not going to be able to negotiate with anybody. All he knows how to do is drop bombs all over the place, meaningless bombs, except they kill a lot of people. Cost a lot of money. Every time you see a bomb, it's another $1 million. And it actually sets us back. We have peace through strength. This should not be happening. The Middle East is blowing up. It's blowing up. And a lot of people are being killed, and it's so unnecessary. So I just say that in watching the Supreme Court today, I thought it's a very beautiful process. I hope that democracy in this country will continue. Because right now we have a very, very tough situation with all of the radical left ideas, with the weaponization of politics. They weaponize it like it's never been weaponized before. It's totally illegal, but they do it anyway. And it has to stop. Every one of the court cases that I'm involved, every single one, civil, whether it's the attorney generals or the district attorneys. You look at Fani in Georgia. They had many meetings with the White House and with the DOJ. They went there, 8-hour meetings. That was all staged. That was a phony hoax. And now you look at it and it is a phony hoax. And hopefully that case will be dismissed in short order. It's a disgrace to this country. But they work together with the Justice Department and the White House. And not supposed to do that. Every one of these cases you see comes out of the White House. It comes out of Biden. It's election interference, and it's really very sad. I thought the presentation today was a very good one. I think it was well received. I hope it was well received. You have millions of people that are out there wanting to vote, and they happen to want to vote for me or the Republican Party, or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it. But I'm the one running, and we are leading in every poll. We're leading in the local polls, in the state polls, and we're leading in the swing state polls, and we're leading very big in the national polls. So it's been a very great honor. We love the country. I think the reason we have such big leads, frankly, is that they loved 4 years of us compared to the 3 years plus, the 3 years that they've gone with Biden, where you have open borders, you have crime. Nobody's ever seen crime like this, what's happening. And now the crime is being committed, much of it by the migrants that have come in illegally to our country. I was wondering about that. I said, a lot of these people come out of jails. They come out of mental institutions. They come out of places that you don't want to know about. We don't even know where they come from. We don't know who they are, where they are. They're being dumped in from mental institutions, from prisons and jails. And many terrorists are coming into our country. We're going to be paying a big price. They have to stop it. They have to close the border. By the way, the president can do it just by saying, I want the border closed. I closed the border. We had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border in the history of the world. There's never been a country with a border like this, not even a third world country. So we're going out to Nevada right now. We'll be out there. Some of you are going to be out there with us. Otherwise, your colleagues will be. And hopefully we're going to have a big night caucus tonight. We're going to have a very big night. We expect to have a very big night. The Virgin Islands, as you know, are also very much in play today. So we'll be hearing about them sometime during the day or later on in the evening. And it's an honor to have you at Mar-a-Lago. I hope you like it. It's worth a little more than $18 million. There's another case. It says worth $18 million. I said, which cabin are we talking about? But that's the kind of justice we have. When they say that to try and build up a case, that was a shame. But that gave up so much. When they said that gave up so much. That Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. They had it appraised for, as you know, 50 to 100 times that amount. But we have a judge that's what he said. And he's supposed to be ruling on me. But who knows? Maybe he'll be fair. I doubt it, but maybe he'll be fair. So I want to thank everybody. And by the way, we proved that case 100%, 5 times over. That case is 100% proven, 5 times over. We've never seen anything like it. He just wouldn't dismiss it, no matter what. Shouldn't be there. It should have been in the commercial division. Anyway, it's an honor to have you. I look forward to having you again, and I'll probably see you out in Nevada. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, I want to show you something. So I think we have an answer to why our infrastructure is so bad. This is a tweet by George. He shared this video. Breaking: climate activists have vandalized the case holding the U.S. Constitution in Washington, D.C. They dumped red powder on themselves and the case. And the police stood there and did nothing. Believe it or not. Yes, guys, is that contributing to the terrible crumbling infrastructure that we have? Let's look at this video. What are they doing here? Look at this. This is the U.S. Constitution. And they poured red powder all over the case and themselves. And look at the police standing on either side doing nothing.
This country's founded on the conditions that all men are created equally and endowed with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're calling for all people to have all these rights, not just wealthy white men. We all deserve clean air, water, food, and a livable climate.
So we all deserve things just to be handed to us. Of course, he plays the race card there because that's all they have, guys. They don't have anything of substance.
Very heartwarming statements. Go home. The police are doing their job, etc., etc. Beautiful statements. If you see my statement made in the Rose Garden, I think you have to watch that because today they said the words of Trump. Now, if you take a look at the words of Democrats over the last period of time, look at Schumer's statement about the Supreme Court on the steps of the Supreme Court. He sounded like a mob boss. Take a look at any of them. Take a look at any. We put together a tape of vicious, violent statements made by Democrats. Nobody brings that up. Take a look at Maxine Waters and the vicious statements that she made. I didn't do that. I said peacefully and patriotically. The speech was called Peacefully and Patriotically. It's peacefully and patriotically. He said I said bad statement. It was the exact opposite. So I think you should take a look at the statements that I made before and after, and you'll see a whole different dialogue.
Mr. President, you just mentioned Chinese President Xi. You said that you were going to impose 60% tariffs should you get back in office. Can you explain your rationale there?
We want to bring business back to the U.S. They're stealing our business. They're taking our business at levels that nobody's ever seen before. By doing that, we bring business back, manufacturing back to the United States, which I was doing. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president had ever taken in 10 cents, not 10 cents. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars and jobs were coming back. I was saving steel companies. Now they're blowing it. When I see U.S. steel being bought by Japan, what a sad thing that is to me. What a sad thing that is. So we want to bring jobs back. Very simple. Thank you. I do have confidence in him. Yeah, I very much do. I think he's a very good man, and I have great confidence in him.
Why are Cleo telling Nikki Haley still in the race when you're dominating in the polls?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you very much. You just said it. I don't know why she continues, but let her continue. We have a big one coming up, as you know, in South Carolina, and the polls are indicating that we're through the roof on that one. We're leading by, I guess, 35%, 35 points. So I don't know. I think she hurts herself, but I think she hurts the party, and in a way hurts the country. But it seems to be dying. She did poorly in Iowa. She did very poorly in Iowa, actually. She came in third place. Ron DeSantis beat her, although you wouldn't know that if you listened to her speech. She did poorly in New Hampshire. She did poorly no matter where she went. I don't know how the results aren't in yet from the Virgin Islands, but I know she's playing it very hard. And in Nevada, she lost to No Name. She had a no name, and she lost by, I guess, 40 points. So I don't know why she continues, but she's a I don't really care if she continues. I think it's bad for the party. I think it's actually bad for her too. Thank you.
Given the battles over presidential immunity, I'm not sure all presidents and vice presidents can be immune from any legal consequences for
Well, I could say presidential immunity, which we'll be talking about because that will be upcoming, is very, very important for a president to have. If a president doesn't have immunity, he really doesn't have a presidency. He can be told to do things that he would never do. He can do really bad things for our country. Presidential immunity is imperative. It's going to be very, very important. And I'd rather talk about that next week, but there is nothing more important to a presidency than immunity, because they have to be free to make decisions without saying, oh, if I do this or if I do that, as soon as I get out of office, we're going to be indicted. We're going to have trouble. And the other party will do that. I think we've seen that. They've done that. There's some very bad people. And you have an opposition party, and they will do things that are very bad. If you don't have immunity, you can be blackmailed. You can be, as a president, they'll say, if you don't do this, this, and this, we're going to indict you as soon as you leave office. You cannot allow a president to be out there without immunity. They don't have immunity. You don't have a presidency. You lose all, you lose all form of free thought and good thought. And you probably weaken the presidency to a point that it was never supposed to be weakened. It would be a very bad thing for our country. We'll be talking about immunity in the coming weeks.
Mr. President, how confident are you that you will be treated fairly by the Supreme Court justices? And what sort of time frame do you need the decision in order for it not to be relevant?
Well, I'm a believer in our country, and I'm a believer in the Supreme Court. I listened today, and I thought our arguments were very, very strong. An argument that is very important is the fact that you're leading in every race, you're leading in every state, you're leading in the country against both Republican and Democrat. And Biden, you're leading in the country by a lot. And can you take the person that's leading everywhere and say, hey, we're not going to let you run? You know, I think that's pretty tough to do, but I'm leaving it up to the Supreme Court. Thank you all very much. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Welcome back. We are live. Charleston, South Carolina, waiting for President Trump, scheduled to take the stage just slightly at the top of the hour. We're glad you're joining us. We're here on this Valentine's Day. I hope you and your Valentine are having a fantastic day. We'll get into something else that a lot of people, as we walked outside talking to all of the supporters here, there was obviously the number one thing they would love to fix during a Trump administration was the border. They were all about closing the border and the border crisis that we have right now. And of course, with Mayorkas being impeached last night, now goes to the Senate. We'll see what happens there. The next thing was to stop sending money to these foreign wars. And President Trump likes to talk about how under his administration, during his time on his watch, we no longer had any additional foreign wars. Matter of fact, we got out of these foreign wars. We're in the process of bringing our troops and our equipment home. Then when President Biden took over, we saw the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan. But when you look at the numbers of how much we spend to Ukraine, go over some numbers for you right now. We spent about $223 million a day on aid to Ukraine. So when they go to push these additional funding packages for Ukraine and they wrap them up into a border bill to try to, I don't know why securing our border has anything to do with Ukraine, but that's what the Democrats try and do. And that's what some, in all fairness, that some Republicans try to do that as well. So this foreign aid package that they're putting together, let me go over some of the numbers here. 95 billion, that's with the B, billion for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Now, that will not be brought to the floor anytime soon. Matter of fact, Speaker Johnson says he's going to talk it over to Republicans and get their thoughts on it a little bit more. But I think what you're probably going to see is a separate aid package for Ukraine, separate from what you would find in a package to Israel and Taiwan. Now, let's look at Ukraine for a second. We have seen this war now going on for well over 2 years. The exact month date, I don't know, but we have been sending hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars to fight this, in my opinion, a proxy war with Russia through Ukraine. And what that has done is not only has added to our debt as far as the money that we don't have. We can't simply outprint money to pay for a war that 90% of the base, the Republican America First agenda, their base is not in support of this war in Ukraine. So I say put a separate bill to the floor for Ukraine, and let's have Republicans vote on that. Very much like we did with Mayorkas. That is the secret to getting things done these days. It seems like what we have to do is force a floor vote, force people to vote on topics, not some bill that has watered down money to Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan and border security package, but separate it. Make people vote on it. That's the only way you're going to get it to really get people, put pressure on them to vote against it, is to make them put their name on it directly. So I do anticipate a separate bill being brought to the floor, not anytime soon, but that is something that I think Speaker Johnson will put together a separate aid for Ukraine. Now, obviously, the base is very much against a conveyor belt, if you will, of money going to this war. President Trump does talk about it often at these rallies, that this is not what needs to happen, that this conflict with Russia would have never happened on a Trump administration. And of course, he says he could solve it through peace. And I don't know why that has not been discussed. And if you look at some of the details in these packages, that goes well through what would be a Trump administration. And if President Trump at that time would ever try to withdraw this aid to Ukraine, it could trigger a reason for House Republicans and I mean, it would trigger House Democrats to launch
okay, guys, I just saw something
on President Trump if he
just saw something really
this
crazy.
continual aid to Ukraine. Now think about that for a second.
Look at this. Apparently, Vladimir Putin endorses President Biden. What is this? Who is better for us, Biden or Trump? The Russian speaking. Putin says Biden is more experienced, more predictable. What? That is definitely unexpected. What do you guys think about that? I was not expecting anything like that from Vladimir Putin.
American wars. We'll get to more of that in just a second. But first, let's talk about our friends over at
Biden is pretty predictable.
The Birch Gold Group. Now, we talk about the economy. We talk about protecting.
Trump is the opposite. Trump is what is unpredictable.
That's your investments.
And that's
things
what
that
some
you've
of
worked
these world leaders
really
don't like.
hard on.
But it keeps them in check.
And you don't
we
want to
all
give
know
it up.
And while he was
our friends at the Birch Gold Group,
he definitely
show you how
world leaders
to
in check.
transition from a traditional IRA into a gold-backed IRA. And it's as easy as simply text the words Trump to 989898. That is the Birch Gold Group. They're trusted. They're Better Business Bureau certified, A+. Thousands of our viewers have reached out to do just that. So no matter what your financial situation is, it's always great to diversify your savings. You can do that at the Birch Gold Group. Simply text the word Trump to 989898. That is our friends over at the Birch Gold Group. All right, so you had two things happen last night in the House. You got the impeachment of Mayorkas, a second attempt to do that. That passed with the help of Steve Scalise coming back on the floor for a vote. But something else happened in the great state of New York. We gave up a Republican seat due to the fact that we ousted George Santos for various reasons. Now, I'm not saying that George Santos in any regard is not perhaps guilty of some of the things that they've alleged that he has done. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not
George
giving him a hall
Santos was
pass.
awesome, okay?
But I was
I am a huge George Santos
very
fan.
vocal about Republicans, House Republicans, siding with Democrats to throw out their own member of a very already very slim margin of majority in the House.
His crimes were
and
peanuts
so you had New York
compared
Republicans
to
like
the majority
Waller
of Congress.
and others
Sorry.
that rallied behind to get George Santos out of office in hopes of getting someone much more conservative, much more ethical, much more law-abiding, I guess you could say. And in the process, they gave us a horrible candidate, someone that absolutely is, in all fairness, not a Republican, was a Democrat running under the Republican ticket. So this weak candidate to run in Santos's place got destroyed last night in New York. So now we have a Democrat, which, by the way, to his credit, was a prior congressman in New York. So not only did he have name recognition, obviously, but he had a little bit more of a savvy political team putting that run together. So now we have a seat that flipped to Democrat. That person, I'm not sure when they're going to get sworn in. It could be as you know.
All right, guys, to give a little bit of context here,
early next
what he's
week.
talking about with
And
this,
that's
this
why
seat
this
that flipped from
rush to
Santos.
impeach Mayorkas was
This
so
is
important,
who the
because
Republicans
if they, for whatever
were
reason,
trying to
they didn't
run
get it,
instead of Santos, Mazi Phillip. And she lost. She lost the nomination, or she lost the race against the Democrat nominee. This is her.
And
This is
we did a
Mazi Phillip.
great job. We are fighters. Yes, we lost, but it doesn't mean we're gonna end here. I did. I did call my opponent. I congratulated him. Single day.
Let's listen to Mosey.
So that's who they chose to run instead of Santos, who would have undoubtedly won.
and is
But Republicans
to claim
are,
some kind of moral
I don't know what's
high
going on with
ground
Republicans right now. They're
that they're
just
doing it. The Democrats would not
completely
do that.
insane.
You and I both know that. The Democrats would not launch a kind of to expel one of their own. That's one thing Democrats do. And that's one thing Nancy Pelosi was great at. Nancy Pelosi kept the House in order. She kept her party in order, kept them lockstep into beating Republicans, into passing as much effective bills as she could. She would turbo those bills in. That's what she did. And love her or hate her, that's the effectiveness of a Nancy Pelosi speakership. She got things done on behalf of Democrats. On the other hand, we spent our time ousting a speaker, and we had people in the House Freedom Caucus kind of spearhead that change. But what has happened since then is a failure to get appropriation bills passed, kind of a failure other than last night to get any type of direct policy or decision that the base can get behind. And what I say, put points on the board. Because at this point, it is about putting points on the board going into this 24 election and getting things accomplished that need to be done. All right. So let's talk about how I think there's a major disconnect between Main Street and Wall Street. And when you look at inflation, it hits probably one of the most volatile segments in our population. That is the lower income and lower middle class families. They're the ones that are hit the hardest in relation to affording the rent, utilities. We talked about auto insurance going up 20.9%. Now, that is something you have to buy. You can't necessarily say, well, I'm just not going to buy auto insurance this month. It is a state law, if I'm not mistaken, in most of the states, if not all states. So this inflationary number has really hit hard. And when you look at Wall Street and you see what we had yesterday, one of the biggest tumbles in the Dow that we've seen in years, but the last couple of years, the stock market has been
guys,
going
we've got about
up.
15 more
The
minutes
Dow
before
has been
Donald Trump
topping,
comes on stage, roughly
all-time highs.
But I got some breaking news for you guys. This is a very sad one. Apparently, there has been a shooting. 22 gunshot victims in the Super Bowl parade shooting, and this is the statement by the police.
Our KCFD
units, along with our mutual aid partners that were working to assist us at this event, touched a total of 22 gunshot victims. One of those was a fatality. We had 8 what we considered immediately life-threatening patients. We had 7 with life-threatening injuries, and we had 6 that had minor injuries. Of the most serious, the immediately life-threatening injuries, we had 8 of those. Those were all transported and off the scene en route to hospitals within 10 minutes. So we felt the response was certainly adequate and appropriate, and I commend all our staff working there today, along with PD, that did an excellent job under difficult circumstances. Our KCFD...
So guys, that's very sad. Send a prayer to those victims of the shooting in the Super Bowl
Raise
parade.
the prices. Now, if you look at, I think it's Congresswoman Lee, if I'm not mistaken, in California, is requesting or trying to get some support behind a $50 an hour minimum wage. Now, you think about that for a second. $50 an hour. Who does that hit the most? What segment of our population does that hit the hardest? And I would argue it's the lower to lower middle class families. You can't simply. How much will a Big Mac cost if your hourly minimum wage is $50? That's going to get translated
Lord
into the
Cazzola,
product.
your channel rocks.
Now,
Thank you so much.
I personally
Thank you
think
so much for watching.
that if
I really
companies are
appreciate
forced
it.
to have a $50
So a
an
pretty small
hour
channel,
type,
grinding away, trying to get those views.
Wage, that you're going to see
trying to cover topics
automation.
that you
You're gonna
guys
see
want
computers.
to hear.
You're going
Topics
to
that I
see
myself am
the actual
passionate
human
about.
employee, the actual human being that is running these companies and operating these products and serving them, be replaced by computers and automation, because I don't think they're going to move forward to that $50 an hour. We're going to talk about a strike that's going on right now. You may not know about it, but first, let's talk about the Free Trump book. That's right. We can talk about President Trump's accomplishments all night long, but your kids aren't going to learn about it in school. Matter of fact, they're not going to get it from the University of TikTok. They're not going to learn about the college on Instagram. They're not going to tell you about it. Their friends at school aren't going to talk about it. But this Free Trump book talks exactly what you're done to know about the accomplishments.
Yeah, guys, while he's talking about the Free Trump book or whatever he's talking about,
of President Trump.
Let's look at this. This is very interesting that I found on Twitter. Apparently, migrants are getting 40% more from the government-funded SNAP program than low-income Americans in New York City. Look at that. Americans are second-class citizens to non-citizens who came over the border illegally. SNAP issues electronic benefits that can be used like cash to purchase food. What the heck is going on? Yeah, guys, I think we're all asking this. Glenn here, he was talking to some of the rally goers, and their number one thing is illegal immigration. The border, they're saying that Donald Trump must close the border. He must address the border his first day in office. And guys, I never thought I'd be one of the ones that really had a huge thing about the border, because this came on my radar only a few months ago, but it's gotten so bad that it's one of my main topics I cover on my channel now. But this was reported on by Fox News. Listen to this.
Each migrant will get approximately $12.52 per day to purchase food and baby supplies. That's about 40% more than what the average low-income American gets in this country on government food stamps or SNAP benefits in 2022, which was about $7.59 per person per day. To put in other words, that $53 million that's being used for this prepaid debit program is double what the New York State is budgeting in 2025 for its Department of Veteran Services, its Office of National and Community Service, its Division of Human Rights, and it's more than each migrant will get a...
Guys, that's just a small taste of why you see these massive crowds in South Carolina for Donald Trump, because he's taking a hard stance against this illegal immigration stuff.
On the ground here.
And people are sick and tired of what Joe Biden is doing.
So we'll keep an eye on that
in his office. His
I do want to take a
Biden administration.
We lost.
Mayorkas just got impeached by the House. It'll probably be thrown out by the Senate. But at the very least, it's an indication of what the people think.
Did we lose a country music legend? We lost a patriot. Toby Keith passing away last week. the great Toby Keith. We saw so many tributes on social media about him. His music is played at these rallies. I'd like to take a few minutes in silence to honor the great Toby Keith. So many hits.
That was a lot shorter than a few
patriotic
minutes.
songs, and I
But
remember
yes, guys, a big Toby Keith
9/11,
fan. I was very saddened to see that
wrote
he had
that
died.
great song that they
And I was
play here
also
at the
pretty
rallies
surprised
that
to see
talk
that
about
Taylor Swift never said anything
getting
about
together as
Toby
Americans
Keith's
and
death.
fighting
She was
for what's
discovered
right,
by Toby Keith.
liberty and
Yet
freedom and gathering
he
around the Statue
not
of
really
Liberty
make any comments about it.
and
So that was
really
very surprising to
facing
me.
the evil that is in our world. And despite our differences politically, despite any type of differences that we had, racial or religious differences, it was all about being American. And we all felt what it was like on September 11th, 2001, to get sucker punched by evil in this world. And of course, Toby Keith, the song really wraps up, I think, the feeling that it was like to be an American during those dark days in our history. And so tonight we play tribute to the great Toby Keith. And of course, I think his downloads on Spotify and Apple Music since his death have gone up tremendously because people are rediscovering his music and just how great it was. And I think that I don't think any of us can pick up a red Solo cup and not think about the great Toby Keith. So tonight, if I had a Solo cup with me, I'd say cheers to the great Toby Keith. We love you, we miss you, and there'll never, ever will be another Toby Keith like him again. Let's talk about a strike that's going on right now that you may not know about. Uber, the ride-sharing app Uber, went on strike today. Now, they chose Valentine's Day to do it because historically this day is a day where most people will use the ride-sharing app to go out, not only so perhaps they can make it easier to go out to dinner, not to worry about parking at the restaurants and parking, especially if you live in a city, but also, for you don't have to worry about obviously drinking and driving. It's one of those to be on the safe side, you take an Uber. Where Uber across the country are urging their drivers to go on strike today because of pay discrepancies with the company. And I spoke to a couple of Uber drivers over the last couple of days to kind of get their thoughts on why they are going to participate in that. And they're telling me that year after year, Uber corporate is taking more and more of their money. In certain instances, Uber would make more on a ride than the actual driver does, and the driver has to assume the responsibility of the car, the upkeep, the gas, and all of that. So it's all overpay. It's 100% overpay, and so they are urging all of their drivers. Now, that's not to say that you can't. You can come on through here. It means you can't, won't be able to find an Uber. Chances are you'll be able to find one in certain markets, but some of these bigger markets, they're simply holding out for that. Also, if you're buying your Valentine's Day some chocolate, you might be paying a little bit more for that chocolate. Cocoa prices have gone up tremendously. Now, I did not know that the majority of cocoa processed in this country, in this world rather, comes from Ghana. And Ghana has experienced an extreme climate crisis, which has cut down on the processing of the cocoa plants. So you have to pay more, obviously, for chocolate now. So Ghana and cocoa making its way into the Valentine's Day special broadcast. So we'll talk about our friends at the Wellness Company at all. Now, these pandemics that we've experienced, that was something that you and I never planned for. And whenever the pandemic came out and all the information came out of what to take, what not to take, and you couldn't take this, oh, please don't take that. All the confusion about how you treat an illness, a virus from that pandemic. Well, Dr. Peter McAuliffe and his team of doctors has this contagion emergency kit. Now, a lot of times I'll joke around on our broadcast about things that would be fun to buy, like the Trump bobblehead dolls, the free Trump book. All that stuff's great. They make great gifts. But this emergency kit that can potentially save your life could be the most important thing that you buy. The information for that is on your screen. It has ivermectin. It has hydroxychloroquine. It has all of the things. The Z-Pack. It's got things that you need to fight potential virus and illnesses. There's a lot of stuff that we have already on the market that can treat these things. And that's what's important to point out, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel with this stuff. So it's nice to have one kit that can treat a potential illness. So I just encourage you to follow the directions on your screen, go pick it up, put one at your office, put one at your home, and be prepared in case something happens. The Wellness Company Contagion Emergency Kit.
Hey guys, I'm going to jump over to Newsmax really quick. Tired of hearing these commercials.
Are tired of Fox, and they're switching to Newsmax Plus. It's the fastest growing streaming service in America. You don't need woke Disney and Hulu anymore. Just get Newsmax Plus. Watch the best shows like Greg Kelly, Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, and...
Okay, well, never mind. That was just another ad for Newsmax.
I've been told that it's in kind of an open air hangar. So you're going to go back in that 2020 election days of October, November. When
Yo, Lou Valentino in the chat. How's it going, man? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We're just hanging out, fixing to watch the Trump rally
on Saturday. So join us for that. Then after we come out of Michigan, we come back here and we go to DC rather, and get ready for CPAC on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. But during those CPAC days, Trump is having rallies around the country, really, well, mainly here in South Carolina. So we're going to have teams down here bringing you that coverage, and we'll do the pre-shows mainly from the CPAC booth, where we anticipate a very busy booth for that. So make sure you join us, and the way you stay up with everything is you got to go to our website. You got to sign up for our newsletter.
If you want to pop in at any point, man, I'm going to send the link to you.
You can do that. Is sign up for our newsletter, as we are able to bring information to you as we get it. Some of the best ways we do that is through this newsletter. Go to rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Sign up. Simple and easy. Takes a few minutes to do that. And of course, Grace Saldana, our editor-in-chief, will send out all of this information, all these newsletters, as soon as they can, and you'll have it straight to your inbox. So go check it out. Newsletter, rsbnetwork.com, rsbnetwork.com. We got a few excerpts from the speech that you might hear tonight, or you're going to hear from tonight. He is going to talk about making America stronger and richer and safer. And of course, we've talked to, hundreds of Trump supporters, and they say that's one of the things that they look forward the most is making this country safer. And this attack that we've had on law enforcement agencies, the attack we've seen on our military, as far as the DEI being into our military, which is, I think, made us less effective, rather than putting people in the right position that are the strongest. It's just simply putting people in for other reasons. Inflation, we'll talk about inflation, hit about 60% of Americans. We'll talk about building the greatest economy. If you remember, the stock
over
market
100
was
rallies. Wow, that's
hitting all-time
a lot of rallies. Are they all Trump rallies, or
all-time lows?
Different rallies? Because that's pretty impressive. Have you seen over 100 Trump rallies?
About that, and thanks to Bidenomics,
pretty impressive.
A 3-year mortgage rate hit a 22-year high. I did not know that. The average mortgage payment now is a brutal $3,300. Now that's a lot more than I said earlier. It was $2,700. I was wrong on that. I'll stand corrected. The average mortgage right now is $3,200 a month. That is substantially up from a $1,746, which that was the amount I thought of earlier. So basically, you're paying the difference on that on a mortgage is about $19,000 a year that you're paying more for. So the affordability is a big thing right now. With the president, it's going to talk about making things more affordable, not only for upper income, but all across America, all segments of America.
Okay, they were all Trump rallies and conferences.
Get the most out of your money. It's going to talk about
that's
the economy.
Pretty impressive. Wow, that's a lot. I haven't been to one in person,
weaponized the
but I
border,
did go to his
illegal immigrants,
his arrest
be
in Georgia.
way,
I went to that. I guess it
used
was kind of a rally, although we didn't
voting
get to see the guy.
process
We didn't get
in
to
the
see Donald
election,
Trump.
to get him kind of a
But it
fast
was,
track
man, it was a
into
lot of
voting
fun. I got
in
to
our
meet a lot of
elections.
people.
And also, it's going to
I
talk
got to
about
meet this guy
buy
right here,
American, hire
Glenn.
American. We often hear that about buying
I got to see
American
Marjorie
products
Taylor
and
Greene. I
hiring
met Laura
Americans for
Loomer.
jobs. I think it's important that we, there's segments
Followed
in our
Behizzy
country right
since.
now that used to
Yeah,
be
Behizzy, good
really,
friend of mine, George.
big
Fantastic
production
guy. I
area
love the
for
guy.
industry that are no
He
longer,
introduced me
these
to Lou
factories have packed
Valentino.
up and they've moved
We're kind
overseas for various
of like the
reasons.
Three
while
Stooges
bringing
now. I
production
dig it.
back
I
to
love
America
it. Love having a little
brings
group that I
jobs
can
back, which brings those
bounce ideas
communities
off
back,
of.
which they can deal with a lot of issues that they might have. Talk about taxes for a second. Joe Biden's plan for the next term raises taxes over $6 trillion. This is something that a lot of people do not know, that whoever is in Congress in January of 25 will write the next tax laws. Trump's tax laws are set to expire at the end of this year. So whoever's in charge of Congress will be in charge of doing that. And of course, Democrats have pledged that if they have any control over your taxes, you can guarantee they're going to go up.
I see what you're saying. You've watched
under
over
President
100
Trump, he was able to
online.
cut
Well, I'm
corporate
nowhere
tax
near.
rate,
My numbers
down to
are
companies
rookie
who
numbers.
make
I'm
more
nowhere
money,
near
and
your
that trickles
level.
down to their employees,
I'm
it
getting
trickles
there,
down to
though.
their
I probably
jobs, it
watched,
trickles down
I don't know,
to
maybe,
expanding their
I don't know,
business.
10,
Under
15,
the Joe
something like
Biden's
that.
plan, those corporate tax
But one of
rates
these days, maybe
would go up.
I will be at your
And
level.
then he's
Probably
going to
not.
talk a little bit about Nikki Haley tonight. Obviously, he has a sizable lead on Nikki Haley, about a 45-plus point lead in this race. So I think Nikki Haley is kind of a non-topic to talk about at this point. He's not running against her. He's running against the crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration. So that's what his focus is likely to be heavily on tonight. He also talks about the peace through strength, that we weren't into these foreign wars like we are right now. We're not into those wars at all. We're simply into negotiating peace with these countries, and
Love to see it. Thank you so much.
It's really interesting how that,
Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Really helps my small channel.
Long, they were the party of peace. They were the party that was anti-war. They were the party that didn't.
Hey, Gloria. Yes, thanks for listening to us.
These foreign wars, and all of a
We
sudden,
really appreciate
it
that.
seems like the Democratic Party. We've got wars going on in Ukraine that they want to fund endlessly. We've got wars over in Israel and the Gaza, and we've got that.
Think of something cooler. Yeah, I recognize you. Hey, thanks for having me live. I have a few minutes to say hello between dinner and coffee. Good to see you all. Good to see you. Think of something cooler.
And I just don't
appreciate
know
you watching. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoy your dinner and your coffee. I myself am a little bit of a coffee guy.
I know that. And of course, we all know that the establishment, I call it the Country Club Republican, is into this. They're into this industrial military
Super Justice
complex.
League.
They want
Okay,
to fund
I like that.
more foreign wars.
I like
Lindsey
that name.
Graham here, and I can promise you, if he was a step stage and here, he would probably get a sea of booze here, because he's very much into supporting the continuation.
Kind of funny because I'm used to kind of going live with George on Firebrand Media,
about sending
and
more money.
it's
to
kind of
Ukraine,
fun to interact with you
funding
guys
Ukraine
a little bit more
endlessly.
because
we know.
Usually when me and George are together, it's just a constant. Hold on a second, guys. 1 second. Let me refresh this for some reason. Okay, there we go. Now we're back. We're back. But yeah, when me and George are together, usually it's a lot, just like thousands of comments. So it's hard to keep track of them all, but it's kind of cool to interact with you guys.
At this moment, there's
a little bit more
of people
on myself here
in this building, but you're glad you're joining us on this very beautiful night here in South Carolina. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. We certainly appreciate. Let's listen in.
Got Freckle in the chat. Hello, Andrew. It's nice to see a live on your channel. Yes, thank you. Every once in a while I go live, not very often.
Something
might be doing it more
about to happen.
But I saw that Trump was having a rally today, so I just had to go live.
We do feel like the energy in this race, now it's always been high. Obviously, post 2020 election, we saw 38, 39 rallies take place during that time. And it seemed like the campaign season really never stopped to a certain degree.
Anti Dearest says, I have to ask, how many times have you been told you look like Wayne Static? Zero.
But they were also,
I don't even know who that is.
at that time that talked
I'm
about
going to have
the
to look
failures
this guy up now.
of the
Hold
Biden
on a
administration
second.
and just how
Wayne Static.
we have taken multiple steps back at just about everything we do. The economy, the border, national security, foreign policy, energy independence. We've taken a step back. So 38, 39 rallies after
I've never been told
the
I look like
2020
him.
election. Now, you want to go, since he announced that he was running for president, these rallies have gotten bigger.
Okay.
They've gotten more energetic.
I will put this on the
They've
screen,
gotten more
guys.
passionate.
Okay, one second.
Are absolutely,
Donald Trump is going to go live
I don't
any
care
minute
if you
now.
have these rallies on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. or a Saturday night at 7 p.m.
But this is what Wayne Static. This is what Wayne Static looks like. Oh no, not that. Hold on. Okay, one second, guys. Let me go back to RSBN. I just exited out of the tab. Hold on. Okay, here we go, guys. Let me go back to this. Here we go. Okay.
Back in office. And this is just one example of many of why he is the nominee for the Republican Party.
Okay, let me go back to
Tonight,
Wayne Static
we'll
really
see
quick.
it. And on election night on the 24th,
If I
we'll
can
see
find
it
this guy
again.
again.
The people want President Trump back in office. Glad you're joining us. Brian Glenn live here.
All right, here we go.
Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, this is Wayne Static right here. What do you guys think? Do I look like Wayne Static? Hey, I wish I had that hair. It'd be awesome. He must be a singer in a band. Okay. All right. I'll take it, I guess. He's a handsome fella.
Fly over President Trump. Just beautiful, but it was hot. And then one of the coldest rallies ever done was in Florence, South Carolina, kind of late spring, kind of that March, April time. Had a rare cold front come down. Combine that with some humidity, cold temperatures, some wind. All right, we're getting some of the Trump surrogates coming behind the curtain. That would only lead me to believe that we are getting somewhat close to him taking the stage. If you've got some of these people that are making their way back,
It sounds like any
seats.
minute Trump is going to take the stage. And I'll be
going
right back. Hey,
back
Freckle, thank you. You're a handsome
what I was
fella.
saying,
Hey, I always love that. I always love when
momentum
someone comments like that.
Is
Really appreciate it.
tremendous for President Trump right now,
Be right
despite
back.
whatever is in the news cycle. If they're trying to remove him from the ballot, if they're trying to the Mar-a-Lago case, and I was just down there this past weekend for an event, and I literally said to myself as I'm walking around Mar-a-Lago, for them to think that this was an $18 million property is a joke. I think the front yard at Mar-a-Lago was $18 million. But despite whatever these bogus lawsuits and claims have gone, the support for President Trump is like nothing we've ever seen in political history, to be honest with you. It's something that I've never seen in my almost 30 years of being in broadcast. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. The movement, the people, the passion. Now, you could say to a certain degree, you might have seen some enthusiasm during the Obama run there in 2008. Had tremendous momentum coming out of there. Of course, that was coming off of a Bush administration.
So in typical Trump fashion, looks like he's a little bit late.
It was all about hope and change, and it was all about a new
Probably
America.
making his flyover
And
with
at the
his
time,
jet.
You think about those words, hope and change. and
Making
that
his
we're gonna
epic
transform
entrance.
America.
Make sure everybody
You
sees the
look at
Trump
those
jet
words
with
now,
Trump written right on the side of his jet.
Years later, and it should scare you because they told us exactly what they're trying to do. They fundamentally want to change
Mike Johnson.
this country. And
the White House is attacking
Biden's policies, his leftist policies. And
House of Representatives right now because they really want to get all this billions of dollars to be sent overseas. And Mike Johnson, so far, he's standing strong. So it's good to see
gotten forward
that he's not standing for it. I'm really hoping that he stays that way, that he doesn't bend to the pressure
for a political campaign as we see right now. And I said this a year ago. I don't need polls. Polls are great. They kind of give you something to look at. But during the 2020 election, I saw crowds like this and even bigger outside versus Joe Biden in a hula hoop in a middle-class gymnasium 6 feet apart.
If you like heavy music, you'll enjoy Static. I'll have to check them out after this stream.
The support that
I'll go on my YouTube music and check them out.
Joe Biden had and that President Trump had. Now, I often say this, and this is my call to Joe Biden. This is my call to Democrats. This is my call to the DNC. If your candidate is that hugely accepted and popular, then why don't you go out and throw a rally for Joe Biden? Do just what President Trump is doing. Go rent yourself a convention center hall. Go rent yourself a college basketball arena. Go find an airplane hangar somewhere and rent that space and throw an American first vote for Joe Biden rally, and let's see who shows up. Okay, let's see what happens. Does he have the stamina to stand on a stage for an hour and a half, maybe sometimes 2 hours, and do multiple stops in one day, back to back? Does he have the stamina to fly across the country?
So did you guys already discuss the Constitution covered in the red pink paint? I guess those guys wanted to spin Valentine's with the founding documents, isn't that? So yeah, that's we talked about Tucker Carlson. He did this little expose on a subway in Moscow, Russia, and it was very clean, like a subway station in Moscow, Russia, very clean. And then I brought that up as a video, and the cops were just standing by as they covered the Constitution with red paint or red dust, whatever it was. This is why we can't have nice things, guys.
Will stop.
This is why in Russia,
because if they can get just
a country that they like to make into the big bad wolf, this is why
milkshake,
the United States
saying something clever
down
to
bad
someone,
right now,
or maybe going over to a child, a parent, a kid, saying something sweet. That's what they clip, and that becomes a campaign highlight reel for him. But little do people know that there's no way in hell that Joe Biden can do anything what President Trump does on the campaign trail. They all know it. The media knows it. Everyone here on this stage knows it. I want to see exactly what Joe Biden is like when you get him out of the press room, get him on a media, get him on a stage like this, get him talking to crowds, get him interacting, let him convince the American people that he is the one to vote for. And I don't think you're going to see it. Matter of fact, I don't think he makes it to the starting line. And I said this 2 years ago. I think it's going to be Gavin Newsom. I think someone else, my guess is Gavin Newsom. You might have somebody else. Drop that in the chats if you disagree with me. A lot of people say Michelle Obama. I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't know. Hey, I don't know. Maybe it does. But it definitely, you cannot compare Joe Biden's mental capacity to process decision-making, improv speaking, long-term speaking, long-formatted speaking, I should say. You can't compare Joe Biden and President Trump. It's impossible. It's two different individuals. It's way two different individuals. And, you know, it's interesting because whenever President Trump misspeaks one time, the media jumps all over that. It becomes a lead story. I want our guys in the studio.
Hey guys, while we're waiting on this, got an update about the Super Bowl parade shooting. Very sad news, guys.
There is one deceased person. Our gunshot wound total has went up to 22, and Chief Grandison will provide a little bit more context to that. Right now, we're still working on a total of number of victims. This is still an active investigation. I do want to comment on the question that I got earlier about a video of some fans tackling someone. We do have 3 persons detained and under investigation for today's incident. we are working to determine if one of the three are the one that was in that video where fans assisted.
Okay, guys, I want to go back to this. I don't want to miss Donald Trump coming out. But that's very sad, guys. Send a prayer out to those victims. That's
over the top.
Horrible.
I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in.
Did you guys know that Mexico shares a border with Gaza? That's crazy. I did not know that.
The gate on
wild.
the Israeli side. I've been pushing really hard to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. There are a lot of innocent people who are starving, a lot of innocent people who are in trouble and dying, and it's got to stop.
Now, can you imagine if President Trump on a daily basis had the same, mental miscues that Joe Biden has? It would be all over the news. Now, if we could have Master Control cue up the next video of the way Joe Biden handles the media in a very defensive manner. Now, it's interesting because, President Trump is kind of notorious for calling out the fake news. And one thing I loved about President Trump was that he never backed down from the media. He'd always address them head on. Whether or not it was scheduled or not, President Trump always faced the media. Well, take a listen at what and how Joe Biden faced the media at this press conference. Take a listen.
President, for months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, "Watch me." Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
Incredible, right? I think that Joe Biden often loses his temper, and I think it's through frustration. I think sometimes he knows he can't remember something. He knows he's, cloudy in a certain area. And you do see that from individuals suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's. They seem to get angry and aggressive at times. And I think that is what we're seeing now. Now, the sad part of it all, and let's just take the politics out of it for a second. The sad part about all of this is that is a man who is tired, and he's being used. He's being used by the Democrats. He's being used by the deep state to basically be the front man to shelter all the corruption they've been able to get away with on his watch, because he is directly tied to that corruption. Is it in his best interest as a human, as someone in his condition of health, to step away from this stressful job, this continual pressure chamber that is politics? Yes, it is. And I do think that is exactly what needs to happen, but that's not what's going to happen. And the fact that they're even considering Joe Biden to serve another 4 years is really ridiculous. And if I was on the DNC, I would certainly be looking down the bench to a much younger, a more vibrant person to roll out to be the future of the party. I think if you're trying to engage younger voters, which it seems like every party, that's what you do. You always try to bring in younger voters to the party.
Okay, guys, really quick. These are the three suspects that they have in custody for the Super Bowl parade shooting.
No way, bro.
Right there.
Bro.
So very quick video. Just wanted to show you that. I know this is getting close to Trump coming on stage any minute now.
I think of a very frustrated man. And when you look at what's next, and you can look at the impeachment of Joe. Oh, here we go. Let's listen in.
All right, guys, here it
United
is.
States Senator of South Carolina, Tim Scott.
Hello, South Carolina! How many of y'all are ready for 4 more years? I tell you what, as y'all probably remember, I have recently got engaged. And today is Valentine's Day. But I told my fiance I have a chance to introduce the next president of the United States. And if you are like me and you want our borders secured, how many of y'all want Donald Trump? If you want to restore law and order in our country, how many of you want Donald Trump? If you want a stronger economy, how many do you want? Who do you want? We want Trump. Help me welcome the next president of the United States, Donald Trump.
Well, thank you very much, South Carolina, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Your great state is getting a lot of news lately. We're doing very well. We're up about 65 points. Is that enough? 65. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of hardworking, God-fearing American patriots. And thanks to proud citizens like you, last month we won Iowa by the largest margin in GOP history. That's a long time. And then we won New Hampshire with more votes, listen to this one, than any candidate has ever gotten in either party. Other than that, we didn't do very well there, right? We got more votes than any candidate. Think of that. What an honor. So many years it's been going on. What an honor. Last week, we won the Virgin Islands in a landslide, and then we won over 99% in the Nevada caucuses with more votes than anyone has ever gotten in the Nevada caucus. So there's something going on, and now we're going to win a gigantic victory in just a few days, if you think about it. Next week, sort of. I guess you could say sort of next week. In South Carolina. Thank you. The primary is Saturday, February 24th, but in person. Early voting is underway right now, so go and vote. I think we're going to have a big victory. It's looking very good, looking very strong. In fact, a lot of people are saying, what the hell is she wasting her time for? And I agree with that. It ends on February 22nd, and it's closed this Sunday, the 18th, and Monday, the 19th for President's Day. But you just go vote early or get there. It doesn't, frankly, from my standpoint, just vote. Whether you do it then or whether you do it early, just go and vote. Nikki Haley is pushing Democrats to vote. So if you don't want liberals and Marxists to meddle in your primary, which they shouldn't be able to do, then you have to get out and get every patriot you know, come out this week and vote for our campaign. It's going to be over very quickly, very, very quickly. With your help, we're going to win this state, and this November, we're going to win the White House, and we're going to take back our country. Right, Henry?
One of the most important issues in this race is which candidate can rescue the American economy and save the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream for quite a while. It's the American nightmare right now. Under the Trump administration, you were far better off. Your family was better off. Your neighbors were better off. Your communities were better off. And our country was a lot better off than it is today. Today, our country is going to hell. It's going to hell. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Millions and millions of people pouring in from places unknown. America was stronger, richer, safer, and more confident than ever when I was sitting behind that beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office. Together, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world with record tax cuts, record regulation cuts, record energy production. We were doing a lot of records. And rising wages for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed. That's why Hispanic Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans, women, men, young students with a brilliant education, young students with no diploma, no education to speak of. Every single group was doing better. There wasn't a group that was not doing as well. But then crooked Joe Biden came in and began waging an all-out economic war on our great middle class. That's what's happened, by the way. That's what's happened. Let's compare the smoldering records of Bidenomics. How about that name, Bidenomics? With the incredible success we had just 3 years ago under President Trump on Maganomics. You ever hear that term? I just heard it. I just heard it. And I like it. I said, let's use it every once in a while. Let's use it in South Carolina. Under Biden, we've had a 3-year inflation rate of over 30%, and inflation was higher than expected. Yet again, you see, they just announced the numbers 2 days ago. It's back. 60% of Americans are now struggling to pay for their groceries. We didn't have that. And as Crooked Joe himself foolishly pointed out on Sunday, it's not just that prices are getting higher, it's that packages are getting smaller. Thank you for telling that, Crooked Joe. Worst president in the history of our country, by far. In fact, Jimmy Carter is a very happy man because his administration is brilliant by comparison. Under my leadership, you had virtually no inflation, and there was no such thing as Joe Biden's shrinkflation. You ever hear that one? Shrink. That's his new name he comes up with. Under Crooked Joe, energy prices have reached the highest in history, and gas prices have reached $5, $6, and even $7 a gallon. And now it seems like they're going up again. They're doing everything they can. They'll use anybody, send it around. They want to do anything they can. But after the election, they can't. We can't let them win. We're not going to have a country. But after the election, if a tragedy happened, like happened 3 years ago, that was a tragedy, what happened. That was a tragedy. Look what's happened to our country. Our country's gone to hell. But if a tragedy happened, you'd see prices, energy prices go up double and triple. 3 years ago, under my leadership, we had energy independence and soon would have had energy dominance. We're going to be dominant all over the world. We were behind Saudi Arabia, Russia. Within the first year, we were way beyond them in terms, we have more liquid gold under our feet, just think of it, than any other nation. And we don't want to use it. They want to go all electric cars. Isn't that a great idea? They don't go far. They don't go far. I had gas, think of the gasoline, gas prices, and we had some times where it was below this number, $1.87 per gallon. Think of that. Doesn't that sound good? You could buy those big, beautiful trucks. Now you say, let's get a little one. Thanks to Bidenomics, the 30-year mortgage rate has hit a 22-year high, the highest in over 22 years. Average mortgage payments now a brutal $3,322 a month. When I was president, the average monthly mortgage payment was $1,700 a month, nearly 50% less than what you're doing right now. You had a savings with me of $19,000 a year. That's a lot. And this is an affordability crisis. Remember, under crooked Joe Biden, credit card debt is the highest in history. Never been higher. That's a tragic number. Over $1 trillion for the first time ever. It's never been even close to that. 62% of Americans now report living paycheck to paycheck. Under President Trump, Americans liberated themselves from debt by paying off roughly $150 billion from their credit cards, the only major decline in decades, the first time in decades that it was happening. And while Crooked Joe likes to brag about the stock market, the truth is his record is horrendous when you correct for inflation, which is an amazing number after adjusting for all that has taken place over the last couple of years. But think of it, with all of the inflation and everything else, the stock market is up just 8% total for the entire period. By contrast, under my leadership, the stock market was up by an astounding 62% with inflation almost at zero, 62%. In short, Crooked Joe Biden did our economy exactly what he did to our border. He's done it to our economy and our border. Have you ever seen anything? Look, forget about speeches. Have you ever seen anything where millions of people are allowed to pour in? Millions and millions. He inherited an amazing success from me. He wrecked it almost immediately, turned it into something resembling much worse, actually, not resembling, much worse than a third world nation, a banana republic. There's never been a border in the history of the world that's looked anything like this tragedy. It's a tragedy. And he can shut it down. All he has to do is say, close the border. We got to get our country straightened out. And he doesn't want, he wants to have some phony legislation passed, which actually makes it worse. But with your vote, we're going to save our economy and we're going to bring our country back from hell. That's where it's been. That's where it's been. The next Trump economic boom will begin on November 5th, 2024, right? Upon taking office, I will end Joe Biden's war on American energy, cancel his ban on exporting American natural gas, beautiful, clean natural gas, and we will drill, baby, drill. Bring it way down. I will revoke China's most favored nation's trade status, and we will impose stiff penalties on China and other trade abusers. They're abusers. Don't forget, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president's ever done anything like it. Under my policies, no company will ever want to even think about firing their U.S. workers and outsourcing your jobs to foreign countries like is happening now at record levels, and we stopped it. Because if they do, those countries are going to pay a very steep price, and that's why they didn't do it. They didn't play games with us. We will once again live by the maxim of the Trump administration: buy American, hire American, buy, hire American. To protect South Carolina workers, I will also pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. You know what reciprocal trade is? When they screw us, we screw them. It's very simple. If China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 2%, think of this, it happens all the time. We did a lot. We did very nicely with China. They aren't doing well right now because of the tariffs and taxes I put on. If China or any country puts on a 100 or 200% tariff, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff of 100 or 200% right back. If they charge us, we charge them. And as tariffs on foreign countries go up, taxes on American workers and families will come down very dramatically. We'll take in a fortune. You know, it's an amazing thing that hasn't been done. We were doing it at levels never seen. We were taking in hundreds of billions. We were taking in billions and billions of dollars. And it was easy. It was really easy, amazing. And we kept a lot of businesses going. We saved the steel industry, but now they're blowing it. Did you see where U.S. Steel was just bought by Japan? How about that? Okay, can you imagine? I wouldn't let that happen. It will almost solve our budget deficit in one fell swoop if we do this Reciprocal Act. Think of it, Reciprocal Trade Act. They charge us, we charge them. And then you have senators and some people that say, no,
What's wrong with it? It's perfect. That's called Make America Great Again. That's what they do to us. And other countries will not be allowed to rip us off any longer, which is what they're doing. The only ones who hate it are the globalists, because basically they hate America. In a certain way, they actually hate our country. By contrast, crooked Joe Biden's plan for his next term raises your taxes over $6 trillion. You know that? Including a colossal tax hike, this will be the biggest tax hike in history for you, the people in this room and everybody else. Millions of middle-class families, they're going to take away your Trump tax cuts. So I gave you the largest tax cuts in the history of our country, and they want to take them back. That's not going to happen very easily, I will tell you. I will make the Trump tax cuts permanent. You know, they expire in a year. And we will cut your taxes even more than that. You know, we took in more revenue after the tax cuts than we ever took in before, because the tax cuts inspired investment. But Crooked Joe is not the only massive tax hiker in this race. You also have a person known as Nikki Birdbrain Haley, Birdbrain, who tried to double your gas tax here in South Carolina and also supports a 23% national sales tax. By the way, Henry will never do that. That's for sure. I will never let that happen to you. It's not going to happen. Henry wouldn't let it happen either, frankly. The radical left Democrats want Nikki Haley because they know she's easy to beat. Look at her polls. Her polls are terrible against Biden. She wants to gut Medicare and Social Security and raise the retirement age by 10 years. How about Social Security? You have another year to go, and then you learn it's not a year. It's going to be 11 years to go. I don't know. Somehow some people aren't going to like that too much. That's what she wants to do. She's wanted to do that for a long time. She gave land away to China, but most importantly, I'm beating Biden in almost every poll by a lot, whereas she loses to Biden in virtually every poll. And her numbers, by the way, are tanking. Her numbers are going down. As she gets angrier, crazier, and suffers deeper scars from Trump derangement syndrome. She's got a terminal case, Trump derangement syndrome. Not a nice thing. There are many people afflicted with it. Most of them are gone. On the amnesty bill, Nikki sided with crooked Joe Biden. I sided with the American people. She sided with Biden. Nikki has gone so far left because of her Democrat donors. She's actually got very little money now because they all gave up, because she's given, like, there was one poll that said she has no chance. That's pretty tough, 0. I give her a 1%. I don't really mean it, but I give her a 1%. And that she's not just attacking me, she's actually attacking the entire, she is really going after the Republican Party. And that's very bad. We got to beat Biden. We got to beat Biden. 3 years ago, she said, all of us who worked with Donald Trump witnessed the tremendous amount of love and respect he has for our military. He was determined to protect our military. We had many conversations in the NSC meetings about protecting them. He loved our military so much, is what she said. Now she says, well, I don't know too much about him in the military. And on that, though, she was correct. I love our military. You have a big military here. I love our vets. I've taken care of our vets like no president has ever done. No president has ever given the vets what I gave them. I gave her the job at the United Nations, 90% for one reason, because I wanted to make Henry McMaster the governor of the great state of South Carolina. And he's done a great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Peggy, thank you for being here. Thank you, Henry. Nikki is also political best friends with a guy named Mitt Romney. Has anyone ever heard of him? That's not a good thing. Who has run, really, I mean, he's been run out of office, essentially. Remember, he was with the mask running down Pennsylvania Avenue with Antifa. I said, this guy's not good. No, he didn't run because he couldn't have had my support. And in Utah, he couldn't have won the race. He could not have won. So he didn't leave very easily, but he left. He's gone. He's gone. Unless he changes his mind, maybe he will. I hope he does. Then he goes down in defeat. And she seriously thought about supporting a gentleman named as Barack Hussein Obama. Well, it's right on the tape. I don't know if they're going to put up that tape, but it's right on that tape. Barack Hussein Obama, she wanted to support him, and she decided to go with Romney instead. That's all we have to know about her. It's don't want to waste a lot of time on her because we have much more important subjects, so we'll get to it. But it's no wonder Joe Biden and his thugs are so they are desperate. They are desperate. Do you see this guy on television today? I mean, he's like a crazed lunatic. Round eyes. The eyes are all round as hell. But I know he didn't have any plastic surgery. I know. The eyes are round. Foreign leaders look at him and they say, you got to be kidding. They only know that we are the only, and they know this, that we are the only ones who are going to stop the Democrats. We're going to stop. They're going to destroy our country. That's why they're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference. That's what they've done. It's all election interference. They love to talk about disinformation and democracy. It's all disinformation. They're great at cheating on elections, and they're great at misinformation, disinformation, similar, not the same thing, but both. Because they're the ones who are weaponizing the DOJ and the FBI, our election systems, and attacking free speech. And they're also going into the states, and they're getting the district attorneys, and they're getting these people are really bad for our democracy. He is a threat to our democracy for numerous reasons. Number one is he's grossly incompetent. That's number one. Number two, they're weaponizing law enforcement against their political opponent. In the case of me, it's me who's the political opponent. And because we're leading him by so much, it doesn't make it any easier, probably for him or for us, but we're leading by so much, partially because the people of our country get it. Congress ought to impeach crooked Joe Biden for attacking his political opponent by weaponizing the DOJ, the FBI, and even the local DAs and attorney generals against his political opponent. They ought to impeach him because that is the most undemocratic thing that you can do. This happens in certain countries, but never happened in our country. All of this persecution is only going on because I'm running for president and leading big in the polls, beating Nikki by 36 points in the latest South Carolina poll, and beating Biden by 15 points in the latest morning consult poll. Remember, I always used to talk about polls, right? Always, because to me it's very important. Only I would talk about them if they were good. If they're bad, I didn't bother with them. But they're good. These are the best polls we've ever had. I actually think their weaponization of DOJ, FBI, I actually think that's driven our numbers way up because people don't like it. They're not going to stand for it. In the latest morning consult poll, we're at 80% in the Republican primary. We're dominating everybody. And then when you go over to the Democrats, Crooked Joe in the general election, we're leading by landslide margins, and they're very worried about it. I don't know. Personally, I don't think he makes it to the starting gate. I hate when they compare him to me. He's old, he's broken, he's incompetent. But let's also talk about Trump. You know, I stand up here, I make these speeches all the time. All the time. We have the biggest crowds in history. In history. If I didn't have it, you'd know before anybody. Front Row Joes would know. Our great people from North Carolina. Over here, we have like 35 women. They follow me, North Carolina. They follow me all over the country. They're beautiful. They're great. I don't know what the hell their husbands are saying. This is, I think, their 117th stop. But Front Row Joes, you may even top it, right? These are serious. How many stops? Yeah, in the 90s, right? They beat you. The women from North Carolina won. That's all right. But there's never been anything like this. Look, we do these rallies. They're incredible. This isn't really a rally. This was a stop, and we have thousands of people outside that can't even get in. It's amazing. And, you know, yesterday she had a rally. 9 people showed up. 9 people. She's finished. In fact, our lead against Biden is now 6 points, 7 points, 9 points, 11 points, and even one at 15 points. And the betting markets all over the world, the betting markets have us beating Biden by 21 points. We have to do that. And by the way, she's getting clobbered. She's getting clobbered by the Democrats, even though she probably is one. I think she probably is. They're putting up her money. They have the biggest Democrat supporters giving her money because Republicans aren't. They think it's a hopeless case. But don't let that fool you. They cheat like hell. So everyone has to go and keep your eyes wide open for the cheaters and vote, vote, vote. You got to do that. And the primary just coming up. I know you think we're going to win by a lot, and I think we are by probably a record. We've broken every record so far. We've broken Iowa, New Hampshire. We broke every one of them. Every record, every place we've run. Nevada, we broke. The Virgin Islands, we got 100% of the vote. We've broken every record, and I think we're going to break the record here. But it doesn't matter. You have to go vote because we have to show in November the kind of a movement that we have. There's never been a movement like this in the history of our country. This is MAGA. This is MAGA country. This is MAGA country. And you know, when Biden gets up and he barely can read, he can barely stand. Remember, he used to say, I'd like to take him to the back of the barn. And everyone thought it was so cute. When I said I'd love to go back there with that guy, it'd take about 2 seconds. I'd go like this. He'd go down so fast, but when I said it, they said the fake news, but look at all that fake news. When I said it, they said, he's a fascist, he's a fascist. When he said, oh, isn't that nice? When I said it, they said he's a fascist. No, I'm not a fascist. They also said years ago, remember Hillary Clinton? I don't call her crooked anymore. I use that term for Joe. We don't need to. We don't care about her so much. To me, she's beautiful, Hillary. She's a very beautiful woman. But when I was talking and speaking and all the things that we do so beautifully, so not, you know, it's very interesting. I've never had an empty seat, right? This place is packed, they're all packed. I never get credit for being a great speaker. I don't know if I'm a great speaker or not. Who the hell knows? I never get credit. Right? I never get credit. I don't know. Henry thinks I'm a very good speaker. But you know, no, every rally, like this one, turns out they're all rallies because if we have 1,000 people, 10,000 people show up, they're all rallies. But they come by the thousands. We never have empty seats. We never have anything empty. We usually have to put screens like this outside so people can see. We did it in Nevada. We did it in New Hampshire. We were going to do it in Iowa, but it was 40 degrees below zero in Iowa. And by the way, the electric cars were not working too well. They don't work well in cold weather. And that was seriously cold. I had to walk from here to like the stairway that Joe Biden can't find. See the stairway over there? Can never find. Where's the stair? He always moves. And they're going to show it. Every time I show it, I get in trouble. You know why? Because these fake news people who are among the most corrupt people in the world. It's true. They say, look, Donald Trump could not find his way off the podium. So I imitate Biden, and in one case there was a wall, like that. A lot of times we have people back there. Do it. And these are the front row Joes they've seen. But here's the risk. Whenever I do it on the newscast, Donald Trump had a hard time finding his way off a platform. There were 5 different stairways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's real easy. He's the only guy in history that cannot find it. But when I do it, they show it at night. They show me mimicking him, and they say, Donald Trump could not find his way off the platform. These are very dishonest people. When I say, Barack Hussein Obama is the president of the United States, meaning there's a lot of control there because the one guy can't put 2 sentences together. So I say, Barack Hussein Obama. Remember Rush used to go, Barack Hussein Obama. You go, Barack Hussein Obama. But he'd do that. Rush, do we miss Rush? Yes. But when I say that Obama is the president of our country, blah, 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 they go, he doesn't know that's Biden. He doesn't know. So it's very hard to be sarcastic. When I interpose, because I'm not a Nikki fan and I'm not a Pelosi fan, and when I purposely interpose names, they said he didn't know Pelosi from Nikki, from Tricky Nikki. He didn't know. I interpose, and they make a big deal out of it. I said, no, I think they both stink. They have something in common. They both stink. And remember this, when I make a statement like that about Nikki, that means she will never be running for vice president. She will never be running for vice president. Remember that. There are things you can say about people. Do you ever see where, you're really hitting one person, they're hitting you, but it goes to a level. But we're at the level now, I am in particular, bird brain and lots of other things. There are things that when you say that you're never going to have her, so I hope nobody wants her because I think she's absolutely terrible. She's terrible. So you're never going to have her, and I don't think anybody's very devastated. We do have a lot of great people, by the way. We do have a lot. He's screaming, Tim Scott. By the way, I tell Tim's here someplace. I tell Tim, because I watch his campaign, and you know the truth, it was a beautiful thing in a way. He's a modest person. And I called him up because he was defending me on Deface the Nation. Did you ever watch? Ladies and gentlemen, CBS, ladies and gentlemen, it's Tim Scott on Deface the Nation, because they do. Or Meet the Fake News. Remember, most of it, ABC, this is ABC fake news. They're all fake. They're horrible. If they ever turned conservative to a conservative way, or let's say it differently, if they ever turned to common sense, you know what? Their ratings would triple. I tell the top people, I said, if you ever went common sense, your ratings would triple. But I told Tim, so he was, look, he did well, but he wasn't as forceful as he is because he feels, he doesn't want to talk about himself. It's sort of interesting. And then I see him on Deface the Nation and Meet the Press and all this stuff, and he's just killing everybody. And I called him, I said, you're a much better candidate for me than you were for yourself. I mean it. This guy is the best. He was like a different person. He was like a different person. And I say that with admiration because I'm the opposite. I'm much better for me than it would be for somebody else. I would be terrible. I'd be terrible. If I was in that position, I'd get up, all right, I did a great job. You should have voted for me. You made him, but this guy's okay. All right, I'm going home. No, I would be terrible. I'd be the opposite of Tim, but that shows great character with Tim. It really does. Where is Tim, by the way? Where is he? I mean that so strongly. He's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. No, he's amazing. He has been, Henry, you know what I mean? I watched him the other day on the Sunday shows. He is just destroying people for me, but he didn't act that way for himself. And he said to me, I find it harder to talk about myself than to something I believe in, something other than myself that I believe in. I thought it was beautiful, and I want to thank him very much. Great guy. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a really great badge of honor. Thank you very much. It's a lot of fun. I'm being indicted for you, and never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. I won't let them take it. That's where they are. That's what they want. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me. They're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but I'm happy we're doing it. I'm delighted to be doing it. And I'm also delighted to be joined today by one of the greatest governors in the history of our country, in my opinion. I'm so proud of him, because I did fight for him and First Lady Peggy to get in that position because I knew how good. You know, when I was running, I have a lot of friends in South Carolina, but when I was running, I dealt with Nikki for years. I gave her many contributions to the governor's, thing, and she's one of the governor's association deals, just a lot of money. And I said, I'm sure she's going to be for me. When I called her, I announced, and then I called her. I got no response. Then I called her again and again and again and again. And I said, she's not calling back. And I said, who's the lieutenant governor? Because I heard good things about him. It was a man named Henry McMaster. I said, I called him. Call me back. He said, you know what? I love what you stand for. I love everything about you, and I would be honored to support you. And she supported somebody else. I don't want to say who, because frankly, he's a friend of mine. So, when I become friends after wars, I get along very well with people. So I'm not going to say who, but she supported somebody else. And I had Henry and Peggy going around from 6 o'clock in the morning till 12:30 in the evening, virtually every day for like a month. And we ended up winning like nobody has ever won before, right? Nobody's ever won this state like we won. We had a record. But we're more popular today, Henry, than we were then. But Henry, 7 years ago, Henry and Peggy were unbelievable. And I didn't know him too well. I said, boy, that guy's doing a job. I was saying, who are the hardest workers? Well, probably the lieutenant governor. Anyway, in the end, we crushed her. She was like nothing. We crushed her. And I said, this is the most incredible thing. This man, I was telling this at the victory speech. I said, I would much rather have the lieutenant governor on my side than the governor because he's far more effective. And that's what happened. You have one of the greatest governors in the history of the state, one of the greatest governors in our country. Henry McMaster and Peggy, our First Lady. We love you, Peggy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're very proud of you. Very proud of you. And then we just talked about him, Senator Tim Scott. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great job. Congresswoman Nancy Mace. We've come a long way. We've come a long way. Thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate it. Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Curtis, he's here. I just saw him. Thank you. And a young gentleman who's got a big future, who's got a great father. Oh, I loved when he spoke up in Congress. I'm sure you all forget. Oh, that was a beautiful thing. It made him very popular. Nobody knew it at the time, but it was something very special, actually. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson. Say hello to Joe. Alan, say hello to Joe. Thank you very much. Thank you. South Carolina Secretary of State, a really good guy, a supporter for a long time, Mark Hammond. Thank you, Mark. Great job. A man who's been incredible as a friend, but incredible as an ambassador, Ed McMullen. You did a great job, Ed. And you have a lot of representatives, a lot of people from Congress from different states, but I just have to say State Representative Stuart Jones has been terrific. And thank you very much. Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate it. And a man who I met a long time ago, he was protecting me. He had more bicycles than any human being on earth. He formed a thing called Bikers for Trump. And I would go around, I'd see like sometimes 1,000, I've never seen anything like it. And I felt so safe. I'd go make speeches. They wouldn't even go into the speech. They were circling the arena or wherever I was. They said, we don't want to go in. We know what you're saying, but we want to make sure you're safe. He's unbelievable. His name is Chris Cox, and he's the head of Bikers for Trump. Where's Chris? Incredible. Thank you, Chris. Look at those arms. I want to expose my arms like that. It might be the end of my political career. If I walked up like that, I think that might be the end, but who knows? Hey, Chris, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Great guy. Great guy. From the very first day that we take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden, and he's the most crooked president we've ever had. He's the most incompetent president we've ever had. And he's the worst president we've ever had. Other than that, he's actually doing quite a good job. He's a disaster. And you know, I never spoke about him this way, you know that. But when I got indicted the first time, it's all of these cases and all of these indictments are all him. It's him and his corrupt Department of Justice. But all of these indictments, when I got indicted, I said, I can't believe it. Nobody thought it was going to happen. The fake news always said, well, they'll never do that to an ex-president who was very popular. We got more votes than any sitting president in history. I mean, we were very popular. But when they did that, I said, well, I'm going to tell the truth. He is the most incompetent president we've ever had, the most corrupt, and he's the worst president we've ever had. What he's done just on the border, what he's done in Afghanistan, I was getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and strength, and it would have been faster. But had the election been not rigged, it would have been faster, much faster. But we got out, we looked like cowards. It looked like a surrender. It was the worst moment, I believe, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And it gave Putin the idea of going in because there was no chance that he would ever go into Ukraine. There was zero chance. And he looked at that and he looked at the stupidity where they take the soldiers out first. They left $85 billion worth of military equipment behind. They left American people behind. And 13 soldiers were killed and 38 were literally obliterated with the arms, the legs, the face. What happened to those 38? And nobody talks about them. I talk about them all the time, all because of grossly incompetent people. When we win, I believe we're going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. We're going to turn it around. We're going to turn it around fast. In our first term, we appointed over 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. Did a great job. We're a record. And for our great veterans, we passed VA accountability and VA choice, and nobody thought it was possible. And we had to get that through Congress. We had accountability, we had choice. You know, we had thousands of people, Henry, thousands and thousands of people in the VA who were sadists and who were thieves and who were bullies, and they were horrible to our vets who weren't in prime time for themselves. If they were, they wouldn't have been harassed like they were harassed. But we had 9,000 people, over 9,000 people. They couldn't get rid because of civil service statutes and requirements. And I got that knocked out in Congress, and they fired about 9,000 savage, horrible people. And then we got choice where, think of it, you had people waiting in line in the VA for days and weeks and months, sometimes with a very simple problem, simple ailment. And I said, I have an idea, a great idea. I told a group of experts, they were all sitting, about 20 guys, 20 people. And they're sitting in front of me. I said, I have a great idea. Why don't we do this? If they can't get good service from the doctors in the VA, and by the way, they're great doctors. What they do is unbelievable. When you see them take a soldier who got just blown to pieces and frankly put them back together brilliantly, it's amazing. Couldn't have been done 5 years ago. But when you see the work they do, but you can't get to the doctors because of the administration and what they're doing. I said, you go out, you get a doctor, get a great doctor, get yourself fixed up, and we pay the bill. And nobody believed I got that through Congress. I got it through Congress, and we're saving thousands and thousands of people. Those 2 things, choice and accountability, were fantastic achievements. And, you know, we got a 92% approval rating in the VA. Nobody else has ever got more than 50%. People don't know that. So the vets definitely like me, and I like them too. We fully rebuilt the U.S. military and created Space Force, first time in 78 years. And that Space Force is a big deal, by the way. No, there's some. Are you from Space Force by any chance? I think. Boy, they were very happy back there. Oh, I see. Good. That's great. Thank you very much. That's very nice. And we got our allies to pay their fair share and bringing in over $400 billion to NATO. They weren't paying their bills. You've been reading about it. I've been saying, look, if they're not going to pay, we're not going to protect, okay? And Biden said, oh, this is so bad. This is so terrible that he would say that. No. If they're not paying their bills, and most of them weren't when I got there, and when they asked me a question, they said, does this mean one of the heads of one of the countries, at that time we had 28 countries, of which 7 were paying their fair share, which was still low, but 7. The United States was paying for almost all of it. It was terrible. And I said, what's going on? They said, Bush will come in, make a speech, and leave. Obama would come in, make a speech, and leave. Nobody would say anything about it. When I came in, I didn't make a speech. I looked at the numbers. I said, these numbers are terrible. Nobody's paying their bills. And I told them that. And then I came back 6 months later. I said, now you've had time. But one of the heads of the country stood up and said, does that mean that if we don't pay the bills, that you're not going to protect us? I said, that's exactly what it means. Exactly. I'm not going to protect you. We don't want to be a stupid country any longer. And the next day, the money came pouring in. If I said like all the Obama said, it would have nothing to do. And Obama, they probably liked him much better than me. He said, no, that would have no effect. Don't pay your bills. We'll protect you. No, if I say that, they're never going to pay the bills. Hundreds of billions of dollars came pouring into NATO. And I said it just the other day because they've been very lax. We spent 150, maybe 200, because now they want to give them $60 billion more. 60 billion with a B. They want to give them 60 billion more. And I said, wait a minute, do it this way. Loan them the money. If they can make it, they pay us back. If they can't make it, they don't have to pay us back. Loan them the money. Put it as a form of a loan. Why should you just hand it over to them? Do it as a form of a loan. I do that with athletes. They can't quite, like a professional golfer who I think is very good. They don't have any money, but they have a lot of talent. I'll say, here's the deal. I did it with a number of people. Here's the deal, what I want to do. Professional golfer, I play golf. I play very nice. Did you see the picture of me, the horrible picture with the stomach out to here? So what I do is I'm putting up today a picture of me what I actually look like hitting a ball, smashing the frickin' ball. And you'll see I wouldn't say slim, but not bad. But the ball does go far. I would say it goes about 9 times further than Biden can hit it, 9 times. He said he's a 6 handicap. That may be his biggest lie. Do you ever notice? Pilots come in and he said he flew planes. Truckers came in, he says he flew. Military come in, he says I was in the military. They're all lies. His biggest lie is that he's a 6.2 handicap. I've seen him swing. He's like this. That's not. I know a lot about golf. That's not a 6.2. And it wasn't a 6.2 30 years ago. That's a bigger lie than the fact that he flies and he drives trucks. That guy is something, I'll tell you. Think of it. Think of what happened. They just came out with a report. They said he's not competent enough to defend himself in court, but he's competent enough to be president of the United States. How does that work? How does that work? But me, I got to go through a trial, and I had a thing called the Presidential Records Act. I did absolutely nothing wrong. But I don't know. I wouldn't have liked that verdict. You can not defend yourself in court because you're grossly incompetent. You don't have any memory. You're a disaster. But you can be president of the United States. I don't want a president that's not allowed to go in and at least talk and defend himself. So they're protecting him. They're actually protecting him, but they're not protecting our country. Our country's in big trouble. But we still have a lot to do. We're going to do things that you can't even believe. We're going to do it fast, too. Under Biden, 19 out of 30 other NATO members do not even pay the bare minimum of 2%. Think of that, of GDP. You're supposed to pay 2% of GDP, which is a very low number. I thought it should go up to 4%. Meanwhile, we're sending colossal amounts of our own weaponry and ammunition to Ukraine and money, including over 760 tanks, fighting vehicles, and armored personnel carriers, 35,000 grenade launchers and small arms, and over 100,000 anti-armor missile systems. Do you remember a year ago when Biden made the statements that we have no ammunition? This stupid guy. He's saying Even if it's true, you don't say it. You don't say it. He said, remember, he was at a news conference. I thought it was one of the classics. We have no ammunition because we've sent it all to different countries, in particular Ukraine. How do you say that? When I rebuilt the military, every warehouse was stocked. We had so much ammunition, we didn't have enough warehouses. We had the opposite problem. But he said, we have no ammunition. And I said, even if it was true, you just don't say that. Don't bring it up. That's a subject you don't want to, and you go get the ammunition fast. But what's happened to our military with the wokeness and everything else is a disgrace. It's only woke at the top, by the way. Our military, don't forget, I took out ISIS, and I took them out fast. And then we didn't go into wars. First time in 72 years, I took out ISIS, got rid of the worst savages in history. I got them out. I knocked them out. We knocked them out faster. They said it was going to take 4 years. It took me 3 months, less than 3 months. Our military is great. General Raisin Kane, our military is great. And our military is being dangerously drained and depleted while our own border remains wide open. So we're all over the place, everywhere but where we should be. We have to be on our border. And I built, in fact, it was today, they finally put it up. I built 571 miles of wall. That's a lot. That's much more than I said I was going to build. I then bought another 200 miles that would have taken approximately 3 weeks. It was all set to install. And we had the rigged election, and the other side took over, and they sold that 200 miles of stuff for like 5 cents on the, think of it, 5 cents on the dollar. They sold it. They sold this unbelievable, that was exactly what Border Patrol, I didn't want that particular wall. I wanted to use concrete plank going 40 feet up in the air would have been fine, but they said no good. Concrete's not strong. They needed a hardened steel, then they needed concrete inside, they needed rebar. It's very complicated stuff, but they needed the panel. It's called an anti-climb panel. I said, I don't like the way it looks. They say, the difference is they can climb over it without it. With it, you can't climb. We had Mount Everest climbers, and we had a lot of drug dealers, frankly. We said, give us your best climbers. And they couldn't get over the panel. We built I think it was 571 miles of wall. We had another 200 miles to go, would have been up in 3 weeks. And these guys said, we don't want to do that. We want to have open borders. And I never believed they did, because who the hell wants open borders? Who would want it? Who would want it? And they come in by the millions, and they're coming from jails and prisons. There's a slight difference, if you know that. And they're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. There was a man in the paper not so long ago, I guess a psychiatrist who worked in one of the mental institutions in South America, and he was sitting reading a newspaper. They were interviewing him. He said, you know, I've never had time to read a newspaper. It's a luxury because I work 29 hours a day. He was saying more than, I better check that, because, you know, when I say 29, meaning they work more than 24. But if I say 29 without a perfect, you know, meaning more than 24 to you fake news people. They work 29 hours a day. They'll say, he thought that a day has 29 hours in it. Oh, they are so bad. They're a big part of the problem of our country, by the way, I got to say. A big part, the fake news. But he said, I work 29 hours a day. I work all the time. That's all I ever did. But now I don't have to work very much, because almost everybody in this a mental institution, almost everybody in our institution, you could see he loved it, actually, loved what he did. But he said, I have nothing to do, because they've all been brought to America. They've all been brought to the United States. These are mental patients. These are some very sick people, too, very, very sick, dangerous people. And he was complaining. He was not complaining. I mean, I think he understood it. But he said they won't be given the care that we gave him. He was a little, you know, torn, to be honest. But he said they're very dangerous people. But they've all been brought to America. And if I were one of the guys in South America, or all over the world, by the way, this is not just South America. They're coming in from the Congo. They're coming in from Africa, Asia, South America. They're coming from the Middle East. Many, many people are coming in. They're coming in from Yemen. We're bombing Yemen. Here we go with the bombs all over the place again. That will never happen. You know that Israel being attacked would never have happened. You know that Ukraine would never, ever have happened. Would never have happened. You know inflation would never have happened. But before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will win the presidency. I will be doing things that will be amazing. Like I will get the war between Russia and Ukraine settled forthwith. It'll be settled very quickly. President Putin of Russia has just given me a great compliment, actually. He's just said that he would much rather have Joe Biden as president than Trump. Now, that's a compliment. A lot of people said, oh, gee, that's too bad. No, that's a good thing. And of course he would say that. Look, I'm the one that stopped Nord Stream 2, probably the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world. But immediately, Biden, think of it, Biden immediately, I stopped it. It was dead. It was a dead deal. It was going all over Europe, to Germany in particular, going to be the biggest deal they ever made. That was the biggest deal they ever made. I stopped it. It was stopped dead. He got into office, and he immediately approved it. I said, I can't believe it. I'm sitting back there. I say, I couldn't believe it. But he did stop immediately the Keystone pipeline in our country. So he approved the pipeline for Russia in Europe, where they're sucking all of the money out of Europe. Think of it. We're defending Germany and all these countries. They're not paying their bills. Germany's paying just a minor fraction of what they're spending. And yet they're buying oil and gas in mass, in billions and billions of dollars a month. They're buying oil and gas from Russia. So they're paying Russia a lot of money. We're there defending them. And the whole thing is screwed up. But I stopped Nord Stream 2, and he approved it right after I left. So Putin is not a fan of mine, actually. You remember when they used to say, oh, Trump, they had a body language person on CNN Fake News, and they had me and Putin together. And they said to the expert, well, who's the dominant force? And the expert said, as you know, I've analyzed it. I've spent a lot of time doing it, and I don't think you're going to like the answer, but President Trump is the dominant force. Said that. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's true. Remember, we both walked on, but I got along good with him. But he doesn't want to have me. He wants to have Biden because he's going to be given everything he wants, including Ukraine. That's a gift. He's got a gift. He's going to have his dream of getting Ukraine because of Biden. The whole thing is just crazy. Biden has given him the only president in the last 5 that hasn't given Russia anything is a president known as Donald J. Trump. You know that. I don't have to go over the list. But Biden is going to give him Ukraine. The way it's looking to me, it's terrible. So Putin came out and he said, I'd much rather have Biden be president. I said, well, that's insulting. And then I said, wait a minute, that's actually a very good thing. I think I'll mention it tonight at the speech in front of the people of South Carolina. The war, that's a war. And it's, I think everyone agrees. A lot of Democrats agree. They say, well, I agree that would never happen. But that's a war that never would have happened if I was president. Under the Trump administration, we will return to peace through strength. Remember when Hillary Clinton, during the debate, remember those debates? Oh, they were great debates. Only Rosie O'Donnell, remember that is? That brought the House down. They were great debates. But you remember she said, he'll start a war. He's a very militaristic person. He's going to start a war. Look at him. He's going to. I said, no, my personality is going to keep us out of war. That's what happened. Our personality kept us out. Again, the first, and I think they said 72 years it didn't start a war, other than we got rid of ISIS. We knocked the hell out of them. 3 years ago, we had the most secure border in U.S. history. We ended catch and release. We built 571 miles of border wall. We got Mexico to send 28,000 soldiers to our border free of charge. You think that was easy? I said to Mexico, we need 28,000 soldiers. They laughed at me. I said, don't laugh. You're going to give them to me. Because you couldn't get the money for the wall. So I had to do something, right? I have to keep my pledge. You're not allowed to do, there's no legal mechanism where they pay for a wall that we have on our territory. So I said, that's okay. We'll think of something else. We want 28,000 soldiers. So they laughed. No, we will not do that. I said, yes, you 100%. No. Then, and the president, who I like a lot, actually, I like him. He's a socialist, but I like him nevertheless. And he said, no, we can't do this. I said, send your representative. I don't want to really negotiate with you. It's disrespectful. Send your representative. So they said, this very handsome guy comes into Washington. I was with a woman from the State Department. I asked Tom Homan and Brandon Judd, they're great. I said, give us a top 10 list of things that you want. I'll get every one of them. They said, you'll never get them. We've been trying to get them for years. I said, just give me a list. I'll get every one of them. I guarantee you that. So this guy comes in, very handsome guy, beautiful suit. In fact, I was going to ask him, who's your tailor? I like it very much. And I said to him, we need 28,000 soldiers. We need remain in Mexico. We need catch and release in Mexico, not in the United States. We call it catch and release Mexico version, not catch and release US version, where they drop them, a criminal. What have you done? Murder. Okay, you'll come back in 7 years. We're going to give you a case. And nobody ever shows back unless they're very stupid. The stupid ones come. You don't want them either. Nobody comes back. You know, we catch and release. We release them and then we say, come back in 4 years, 5 years. They never come back, as obviously nobody would. Who would? We were the stupidest people on earth. But I asked for 10 things, but remain in Mexico is a big one. You couldn't come in here. You had to remain in Mexico until we decide whether or not you could come in, of which 95%, maybe more than that, couldn't come in. That was me. And Biden ended it. So I said to this handsome guy, I said, no, we need 28,000 soldiers immediately. I'm building the wall. The wall will take care of itself, but we need them especially during the wall. No, 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 we will not do that. Yes, you will. No, you won't. We won't do it, sir. He said, no way. I said, way. You're going to do it? I said, I guarantee you, you're going to do it. I guarantee you. He's looking at me like, is this guy crazy? I told him no. And I said, I guarantee you, you're going to do it. Because I have before me a document, and the document says, this was a Friday evening, it says on Monday morning at 7 o'clock, a tariff will be imposed on all of the cars and all of the other billions and billions of dollars worth of stuff that you send into our country. You know, they stole 32% of our automobile manufacturing business. And by the way, with the head of the auto workers, they're going to do it again with his all-electric car mandate, because those cars are all going to be built in China. Okay, what they've done to the auto workers, United Auto Workers, they're all going to vote for me, because I'm going to bring all that business back. I'm going to bring it all back, because we're going to impose tariffs on cars coming in from foreign countries, and they're going to have to build those cars in our country. So, and they're going to hire United Auto Workers and a lot of other auto workers that you have right here in your great state. But they want to take all that business away. So I said to him, you're going to do this. And he said, no. I said, here's the story. Monday morning, 7 o'clock. He said, sir, you don't mean that. I said, no, I totally mean it. I'm ready to sign it right now. I actually had the document done. Do you want me to sign it or not? He said, man, take 5 minutes and call my president. I said, absolutely. Comes back in about 2 minutes. Sir, we would be absolutely in love with giving you 28,000 soldiers, sir. We think it's a wonderful idea. We will give you remain in Mexico. We will give you all sorts of titles for the bad. You know, we have a lot of sick people, and we want to take care of people, but we don't want them infecting our people. Does that make sense to you? They have a lot of very sick people coming in. Now we have everything coming in. They gave up everything. They gave up remain in Mexico. And the other day I saw where Mexico wants $10 billion just to talk to the United States. They wouldn't be saying that to me, I can tell you right now. We have stupid people running our country. We've had for years, and we broke it up, and then we had a crooked election, but we're going to come back stronger, bigger, better. We're going to do a better job than anyone's ever seen before. Under Biden, we now have the worst border in the history of the world. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is a lively group. This is a lively group, Henry. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. I think Nikki's in big trouble, big trouble. Who wants her? Who the hell wants her? No, we had the worst border in world history. There's never been a border. I say it all the time. You take a third world country, you take a banana republic, there's no way a thing like this ever happened. They would fight with sticks and stones. They wouldn't allow that to happen to their country. There's never been anything worse than our border. And you know, the biggest victims, I just started saying this because I realized these are the biggest victims. It's millions and millions of people. They're pouring into our country. The biggest victims are African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, people that want a job, people that really feel they want a job. They're getting decimated in their hourly wages. It's happening already. And you know, another big victim group, it's not so much down here. You don't have too many of them, frankly, but the unions are going to be destroyed. The auto workers are going to be destroyed. The Teamsters are going to be destroyed because they get big hourly wages. And let's say that that's fine, but they're not going to be able to compete when these people are coming in, and they're coming in at levels never seen before. Unions are going to be totally decimated, a lot of the workers in our country. But the worst devastation is going to be the African American and Hispanic American people. They're going to be decimated. So I have an extra thing, you know, because the crowd is so crazy tonight and so large. It is crazy. You got to see what's going on outside. If you want, you know, we do a thing called the snake. Does anybody want to hear it, or should we just get on with it? Yes? Yes? We'll do it? Oh. What the heck? It's a couple of more minutes. We got plenty of time, right? So are you ready? That's right. He said he's been here. He's been waiting all day. He'd like to hear it. They happen, this front row, I'll tell you, front row Joes. They become very famous people, actually. So you know what this is. This is a song that was written many years ago, and I changed it around a little bit and made it toward really immigration, because we're taking in so many dangerous people, and bad things happen when you do that. You take in dangerous people, it's going to end up biting you. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. That's what's happening to our country. That's what's happening to our country. That's exactly what it is. It couldn't be more accurate. It's sad. I hate doing it even, but people like hearing it. They've heard it 500 times. I only do it probably once every 10 times, but I gave you the option. But you know, it's very accurate, actually. That's exactly, we're waiting, we're sitting ducks. Terrorists are pouring into our country. Nobody's checking anything. Drug dealers pouring in. And you're never going to solve the drug problem unless you have a death penalty for drug dealers, because you're just kidding yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to launch a blue ribbon community. Beautiful blue ribbon committee of socialites from New York, California, and all over the country to tell you about drugs and the drug problem. They can't do it. They're not going to be able to do it. The only thing that works is the death penalty. Don't forget, a drug dealer kills anywhere from 500 maybe to 1,000, but 500, a minimum of 500 people during his or her lifetime. 500 people. And, you know, when I was in China, I used to get along great with President Xi, and I'd say, do you have a drug problem? No, we don't. Like it was a stupid question I'm asking. I said, you don't have a drug problem. Why? He said, quick trial. I said, what's a quick trial? We catch the drug dealer, we gave him a quick trial, and we execute him. And we no longer have any problems because all those people have come to the USA. They have no drug problem. They have no 1.4 billion people. They have no drug problem. We have a drug problem with them because they send fentanyl in and they weren't going to do it anymore. We had a deal worked out. They weren't going to do it. They were going to give the maximum penalty for anybody making fentanyl, sending it into the United States. But when I got out and Biden, who can't put two sentences together, came back in, when he came in, it all died. We were all set to make that deal. And he had to make that deal or we were going to stop trading with him. We're going to stop trading because he's killing hundreds of thousands of our people, worse than a war. Hundreds of thousands of our people are dying each year with fentanyl, mostly made in China and coming through the southern border. Now it's pouring in at 15 times the pace that it was just 3 years ago. It's pouring into our country. It's cheaper to buy fentanyl than it is to, and other drugs, than it is to buy candy. Candy is more expensive. On day one, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, and we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history because we have no choice. We will restore law and order to our country, and I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ, which is right now corrupt, to investigate every radical, out-of-control prosecutor in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. And I am also going to indemnify all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States to protect them from being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong action on crime. We have to let them immediately start working on crime. You saw today another group of wonderful people were killed in Washington, D.C. We're going to fix Washington, D.C. We're going to make it crime-free. We're going to take it over by the federal government. We're going to run it properly instead of these third-rate politicians that are destroying it. We're going to move the homeless out. We're going to make it beautiful again. We're going to get rid of the graffiti. We're going to redo the roads that are falling apart. We're going to get rid of the garbage on all the roads. It's a horrible place right now. It's a death trap for anybody that walks into Washington, D.C. You would go down to Washington, D.C. You were so proud of it. It's a death trap. We're going to take it over. We're also going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope and safety and beauty, better than they have ever been. We'll work with Democrat mayors. They're all run by the Democrats, unlike Nikki Haley, who doesn't have what it takes and never did, actually. I will always defend Medicare and Social Security for our seniors. She won't. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I cannot believe I have to say this. It's embarrassing to even say it. 5 years, 10 years ago, I can't even imagine this, but I will keep men out of women's sports. Is that okay? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And fully uphold our great Second Amendment. Nobody took care of our Second Amendment. During that 4-year period, nothing happened with our Second Amendment. We will protect innocent life and we will restore free speech. And I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. But until then, Republicans must win. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. There's never been anything like this happen. It's not even the same country that we knew. And believe me, they are a threat to democracy. They are a serious threat. They are the threat. They like to talk. You know, let's see, how do we beat Trump? Because they have nothing to run on. So they're going to run on Trump. That's okay with me because I think we have the greatest movement in the history of our country. MAGA, MAGA, make America great again. So if you want to save our country, if you want to save America, then you have to go and vote. Remember, the primary is Saturday, February 24th, and in-person early voting is underway right now. If you need details, it's sc.donaldjtrump.com. Don't wait. Go cast your ballot right away. So, we're coming to the end of a beautiful evening in a beautiful place. In conclusion, together we're taking, somebody say, keep going. No, don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop, please. Don't stop, sir. Please keep going. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it shows you you're desperate to hear from somebody because this other guy never gets up and talks. If he talks for like a minute, he goes, it's like, it's crazy. You know, a friend of mine said, I saw a poll, you're up 9. He's not a politician. He's not into politics at all. I said, how come you're only up 9? And 9 is a lot for a Republican because they have a built-in vote. The lowest they can go is 39%. He's at 32. It's almost impossible. In other words, the lowest they can go is 39, and he's at 32. But he was saying, how come you're only up? I said, because they have different, we're not going to talk about it because I think a lot of those people are going to vote for us, actually, so I'm not going to talk about it. But they have a built-in constituency like you wouldn't believe. We don't. We have to run the entire East Coast. We have to run the Midwest. We have to get Texas. We love Texas. You know, we're leading bird brain in Texas by a number that's never been seen before. We're at 89-7 with a few undecided. 89-7. We love Texas. But together we're taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. It's your God-given right. From Columbia to Clemson, from Greenville to Garden City, from Lexington to Charleston, we stand on the shoulders of South Carolina heroes who crossed the ocean, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up those great skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America the single greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 50 years, where banks are collapsing and interest rates are skyrocketing. Likewise, we are a nation where energy costs have reached the highest levels in our history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant as we were just a few short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela and others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country anywhere in the world. We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will be reducing their oil production while at the same time substantially increasing the price. And we met that threat by announcing that we will no longer be drilling for oil in large areas of Alaska and elsewhere on our land. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New scam is fake and will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all electric cars despite the fact that they don't go far, cost too much, and whose batteries are produced in China with material only available in China when an unlimited amount of gasoline is available inexpensively in the United States, but it's not available in China. And now we are a nation that wants to make our revered and very powerful army tanks the best anywhere in the world, all electric, so that despite the fact that they are also not able to go far, fewer pollutants will be released into the air as we blast our way through enemy territory in an environmentally friendly way. And they also want to make our fighter jets with a green stamp of energy savings, though losing 15% efficiency, but allowing us to keep our enemy's atmosphere clean of emissions as we viciously and unceremoniously attack them at levels never seen before. Who are these people that would do this to us? Who are these fools? Who are these people who would ruin our country? We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the U.S. just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. What other country would do such a stupid thing? Who would ever be so self-destructive as this? Can we be energy independent and even dominant? Yes, oh yes, quickly, says President Donald J. Trump. We will be energy independent again very quickly. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world behind, and also abandoning Bagram, one of the biggest military bases in the world, and only 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And we are a nation that allowed Russia and Ukraine to fight, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your president, and for 4 straight years, it didn't happen. Likewise, the horrifying attack on Israel would never have happened. They wouldn't even have thought of doing such a thing if President Trump was sitting in the Oval Office. Would never, ever have been thought of. Iran was broke under the Trump administration, totally broke. They didn't have the money to fund Hamas and Hezbollah and all of the other instruments of terror that they fund. But those sanctions were lifted by a corrupt Biden administration. And now Iran is a rich country again, with $200 billion and another $6 billion for hostages and $10 billion for electricity to Iraq. All compliments of the incompetent Joe Biden administration. And China with Taiwan is next. We are a nation that allows radical left terrorists to violently attack our cities, leaving behind massive destruction and death. and nothing happens to the criminals that do these terrible things, there is absolutely no punishment. But when people who love our country protest the January 6th in Washington, D.C., they become hostages, unfairly imprisoned for long periods of time. We are a third world nation now that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, and which offers $1 million to a writer of fiction about Donald J. Trump to lie and say it was fact, where Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, and the FBI knew it wasn't, but 51 intelligence agents said it was, and a Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war, which would be World War III and far more devastating than any of the previous world wars because of the weaponry that no one even wants to think about. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are indeed the enemy of the people. They refuse to discuss the Biden crime family, but enjoy covering the false indictments of Donald J. Trump, who has done nothing wrong except win an election that wasn't supposed to be won. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed and where crime is rampant and out of control like never before. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions and trillions of dollars that is taken from us to build a military to rival our own. And less than 3 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They respected us. They were afraid of us. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it. Now Russia and China are holding summits to carve up the world. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer admired, respected, or listened to on the world stage. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, faith, and even God. We are a nation whose economy is collapsing into a cesspool of ruin, whose supply chain is broken, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the very bottom of every single list. We are a nation that sold a once great company, United States Steel, to Japan. We are a nation whose stock market's continued success is contingent on MAGA winning the next election. We are a nation where large packs of sadistic criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat up and kill their workers and customers, and leave with arms of goods, but there'll be no retribution at all. Where the authority of our great police has been taken, where their families and pensions have been threatened, and their beautiful lives would be destroyed for the mere mention of the words law enforcement. We are a nation where fentanyl and other forms of illegal drugs are easier to get than groceries to feed our beautiful families. We have become a drug-infested, crime-ridden nation which is incapable of solving even the simplest of problems. We will institute the powerful death penalty for drug dealers, where each dealer is responsible for the death during their lives of more than 500 people or more. Mothers will never again be forced to watch their children overdosing and hopelessly dying in their arms, screaming, "What can I do? What can I do? My child, my child, my child." We are a nation whose once revered airports are a dirty, crowded mess. You sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the plane won't leave. They have no idea when it will. Where ticket prices have tripled, they don't have the pilots to fly the planes. They don't seek qualified air traffic controllers anymore, and they just don't know what the hell they're doing. We are a nation that screens its citizens viciously at all ports, but if you're an illegal alien, you're allowed to flow through our southern border totally unchecked. Dangerous as hell, but totally unchecked. Let them be free, let them be free, claims Joe Biden. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, willpower, and lost its strength. We are a nation that has quite simply lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. And we will throw off the sick political class that hates our countries. We will rout the fake news media. We will drain the swamp. And we will liberate our country from these tyrants and villains once and for all. Like those patriots before us, we will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield, we will never give in, we will never give up, we will never, ever, ever back down. With your support, we will go on to victory, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will take back our country on Election Day 2024. Crooked Joe Biden will be gone. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We are the greatest movement in the history of our country. We are MAGA, Make America Great Again. Together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, South Carolina. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, another great speech, another great rally by Trump. Looked like there's thousands of people in attendance. Fantastic speech. Went very long. Watch Joe Biden do that. He would go about okay, that's being kind of generous. He'd go about 45 seconds, and he would probably collapse on the stage by what would happen. But guys, it's been a very long stream. I did not expect it to go this long. We're at about a little over 3.5 hours. Guys, I'm doing this. I am a little bit sick, believe it or not. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe. Thank you so much. But we will see you guys on the next one. Have a happy Valentine's Day.